Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of viewers aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. It really helps keep these long stories coming. Also, for even more police horror stories, check out my new channel. The link's in the description and pinned comment. I'd love it if you stop by and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. What time is it where you are, and which city are you listening from tonight? Now, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. My name's Deputy Marshal Boone, 20 years on patrol in Lamb County. Sometimes I wonder if this county owns me more than I own it. I've parked here at mile marker 132 on US 82, just me, the stars, and the echo of my boot heels on gravel. I can taste the grit in my mouth when I exhale, and the weight of this badge still feels like a chain dragging me across burnt mesquite brush. After midnight, calls slow down. Dispatch goes quiet, or loops the same static on the radio. I hear, "Anyone copy this?" and I know it's nothing real. Old CB chatter, nothing more than broken signals over dusty frequencies. But tonight, I swear it sounded like my name. Boone. Boone. I swallow and tap the mic. "Boone here," I say softly. Nothing. No crackle, no answer. Just that empty tumbleweed wind. I sit up straight, check my belt. I'm still 10 to 8 in service. The .357 feels cold under my shirt. My hand drifts to it before I remember. I'm not chasing gangbangers, I'm chasing ghosts out here. I start the cruiser and roll forward, headlights carving through velvet black. I pass the old Texan Star Gas and Market sign, neon off since last summer, and I slow. Shoes shuffle behind the glass door like someone pacing. My pulse crimps. I pull in, kill the lights, and ease out of the cruiser. Every step is a crack on gravel. The front door to the market hangs open, paint peeled and splintered. Inside, shelves sag under dust. Sardine cans, stale jerky, cheap sodas. No clerk, no customers, but footprints. A small pair by the counter, toes pointing toward the back storage door. I grip the barrel of my revolver and whisper, "Show yourself." The storeroom door yawns open, blaring a sliver of moonlight against cardboard boxes. I inch inside, boots echoing. It smells like sweat, diesel, and something sharper, fear. There, curled in the corner, a girl no older than 10. Knee to chest, head bowed, her hair tangled, dirt on her cheeks. My heart slams. I kneel 6 feet away. "Hey there," I say low. "It's okay, I'm here to help." She doesn't look up. Her breathing is shallow. I reach out, palm open. Her shoulder twitches, but she stays motionless. I spot the wall behind her, charcoal scrawls and a crude map. Archer City, Littlefield, Wilbarger County line. 5 red X's, one of them right where I live, near my kid's school. My throat goes dry. I swallow hard. "Who did this to you?" I ask, voice tight. She finally lifts her head, eyes glassy, empty. She mouths something, but I can't hear it. I lean in, squint. The word "watched" is stamped across the map, letters jagged and bleeding into the wood. My radio blares suddenly. Startled, I fumble the mic. "Boone, dispatch, copy," I choke out. Static answers, then dispatch. "Deputy Boone, we have a missing person file from Wilbarger, young girl last seen 3 weeks ago." 3 weeks. Dirt on her knees suggests she's been wandering these roads, living off air. I clamp a hand over my mouth. "Standing by for backup," I manage, voice hollow. Backup won't arrive for at least 30 minutes. She needs medical, she needs comfort, she needs answers. I kneel beside her. My knee presses into splintered wood. My palm sweats against her shoulder. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Her eyes flicker. Just a hint. She whispers so faint I nearly miss it. They know. A jingle of metal behind me. My head snaps up. The back wall, where supplies are stacked, shifts, dust drifting down like ash. A shape moves, tall, slow. My blood hammers. I rise, revolver raised. "Freeze! Sheriff's Department!" I bark, voice cracking. No answer. The shape slides into the moonlight. A man, thin, collar of his shirt stained red. He tilts his head, studying us. My heart flips. I take a half step back. Step away now. He only smiles. A twitch in his cheek, like he's part shadow. He lifts a long stick. A length of rebar, maybe, jagged at one end. Silhouetted against the desert sky, he looks almost expectant. I consider pulling the trigger, but my brain screams. She's still here. I can't take the shot unless I'm certain. He strides forward. Each footstep crunches like brittle bone. I swallow the last of my fear and steady my aim. Behind him, the little girl is gone. The floor is bare, just scuffed footprints circling the spot where she knelt, and then trailing off toward the storeroom exit. My chest caves. I spin back to the man. He's halfway out the door, and I squeeze the trigger. Loud report. The night shudders. He staggers, rebar clatters, and he falls outside into moonlight. Dust rising around him like dry corpses. My ears ring. I'm chest deep in dread and adrenaline. "Medic! Dispatch!" I yell, but all I hear is the wind and that jangle from the pump jack outside. I sprint past him, throw open the storeroom door. The girl's nowhere in sight. My throat closes. I search the aisles. Empty. The exit door into the highway is ajar, wind tugging at it. I burst out. The blacktop glistens under my beam. No footprints. No blood, no girl. He's down on the ground, head turned toward me, eyes wide, pure rage, pure sorrow. He gurgles something I can't make out. I back up, mind racing. My radio bleats again. Backup's 40 minutes out. I don't wait. I sprint to my cruiser, throw the door open, check my mirror. Nothing behind me, nothing but empty road and glowing stars. I pull away, tires skidding on loose gravel. The tachometer needle jitters. I can feel my pulse in my temples. I dial dispatch. "Boone to dispatch. Shots fired. One down. Civilian missing. Need ambulance now." There's no answer. Just static. I floor it north on US 287, clutching the wheel. My house is 30 minutes away. My wife left 2 years ago. Said I lived for these roads, like they were my only home. My kids ask why I'm never there. Tonight, I'd give anything to see their faces. In the rearview mirror, I catch movement in the back seat. A flash of a small handprint on the glass, muddy palm smeared across the window. But when I glance back, it's gone. I don't stop. I can't. I'm 10 to 8, but I'm broken. And out here in northwest Texas, under weightless stars, I know I'm being watched. And they know my name. I ease off the accelerator just enough to keep the cruiser steady at 80. The taillights of my own vehicle blur into red streaks across the asphalt, like blood smeared on the blacktop. My heart hasn't slowed. It drums in my ears louder than the engine's growl. The desert night presses in through every crack. The distant pump jack chimes, the hush of mesquite, the empty weight of no one out there but me. I can't shake the image of that girl's handprint floating in the back seat. I checked the rearview mirror again, just shadow, dust, the reflection of my tired eyes. But I know what I saw, and I know I'm not safe, even here. The radio finally crackles. "Deputy Boone, copy?" It's dispatch, solemn, clipped. "We have EMS en route to the market site. Backup's ETA 20 minutes. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. 10-4. My voice sounds ragged. I take the next left onto County Road 12. Gravel that rattles my teeth. The moon overhead is low and thin, almost hidden by wisps of cloud. I know this stretch by memory. 2 miles, then State Highway 152. From there, direct to my trailer at the edge of Littlefield. My mind reels through possibilities. Who was that man I shot? He looked familiar. Thin-build, long arms, a scar across his jaw. When he dropped, I thought I recognized the jacket he wore, the faded patch of the old Wilbarger County Volunteer Fire Brigade. But no one in that brigade is an outsider. Not anymore. I passed the broken windmill where I once pulled over a hitchhiker in 2009. It was the first night I felt truly alone on these roads. I told him to move on. He did. But what if he hadn't been alone? What if someone watched me watch him? I'm nearly at the bridge over Spade Creek when the headlights behind me flare. A county cruiser. Backup. I flick the turn signal and pull onto the shoulder. Tires crunch, dust billows. The other unit, a younger deputy, Jenkins, cuts his engine and steps out, flashlight in hand. He's pale when he approaches. Deputy Boone. Jesus, what happened? His voice echoes in the open air. I shut off my headlights. Darkness swallows us. In the beam of his light, my cruiser's passenger door stands half open, the frame scraped. Jenkins shines his light on the door sill. A muddy handprint, the shape of a child's palm. He whispers, "This can't be." I light a cigarette from the butane lighter clipped to my belt. Flame flickers in the breeze. I know. I draw smoke deep into my lungs. We found her, Jenkins, but she vanished. He vanished. Jenkins kneels by the rear tire. He rubs a fingertip over the print, careful not to smudge it. I watch the smoke curl from my fingers. The embers glow in the dark. Dispatch said EMS is on scene, but the storeroom's empty, I say. No girl, no body, just that print and the man with the rebar. Jenkins stands, jaw tight. You shot him, right? I nod, flicking ash onto the gravel. Just once, chest, didn't wait to see if it'd stop him. He fell. I left him there. I shouldn't have. I shake my head. But there wasn't time. She was alone. He meets my eyes. I get it. You did what you had to. I snuff out the cigarette under my boot. Let's move, I say. I want to get home. I need to see if anyone's... My words catch in my throat. He leads the way to the trooper's cruiser. I pause, staring at the stars beyond the windshield. Bright pinholes in black velvet. This sky should feel peaceful. Instead, it reminds me of all the nights I've spent chasing shadows. Jenkins climbs in the passenger side of my cruiser while I drive. He radios dispatch for an update. Boone and Jenkins, we're holding scene at Texan Star. Evidence techs en route. You copy? His voice is steady, but I know he's unsettled. Copy, I respond. Then, be careful out there, Jenkins. Something's not right. He glances at me. With all due respect, Boone, nothing's ever been right out here. The road narrows. I kill the headlights and roll in darkness for a moment, then flick them back on. My trailer's yard light comes into view, one solitary bulb swinging against the night. Home. I park, kill the engine, and sit. Silence envelops me. The only movement is the wind brushing every surface. Jenkins is quiet in the seat next to me. We both know the rules. No talk until we clear scene logs. I step out first. The cold breeze hits me like a slap. I close the door on the cruiser and head toward the small porch. Jenkins follows. My front door is unlocked. I never lock it anymore. Inside, the living room light is off. My chair, the one where my ex-wife used to sit before the divorce, still faces the TV. My kids' toys are tucked in a corner, collecting dust. I set my badge and revolver on the entry table. The weight lifts slightly from my shoulders. Jenkins lingers by the door. "You okay?" he asks softly. I nod, but the answer's a lie. "Yeah?" He hesitates. "Boone, you sure you don't want to stay at the station tonight? Get some rest." I shake my head. Number I need to see if... I stop. Words fail me. I need to see if anyone's inside. He nods and leaves. The door clicks shut behind him. I flip on the living room light. It hums. I cross the threadbare rug to the hallway. My bedroom door stands ajar. I push it open. Darkness. Nothing but my uniform hanging on the closet door. I flick the switch and step inside. The room is bare. Bed made neatly. Picture frames empty. No sign of life, no sign of struggle. Just the smell of stale air and loneliness. I cross to the window and look out. The porch light bulges the shadows on the yard, and beyond, the fields roll like dark water. No movement, no shapes, just quiet. I sit on the edge of the bed, unbutton my shirt, and the 357 falls to the floor with a dull click. I let my forehead hit my knees, and my breath shudders. I replay the night, the market door, the girl, the map, the man, the shot. Each moment loops, raw and unrelenting. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. Message from dispatch. "Evidence tech in place. SWAT on standby. Keep comms open." I stand, grab the phone, I type, "I'll be there in 30. Got something personal to sort." I slip into jeans and a t-shirt, then lace my boots. I pick up the revolver, clean, cold. I check the cylinder, 5 rounds left. It fits in my hand like an old friend. The bathroom light flickers as I shower. The water's ice against my back. I scrub off the sweat and dust, but I can't scrub off what's in my head. I close my eyes under the water and see her face. Pale, searching. I feel the map's red X's burning into my mind. I step out and wrap a towel around my waist. The mirror above the sink shows a face older than my 20 years of service. Hollows under the eyes, lines at the corners of my mouth. My hair's gray at the temples. I stare until I feel sick. I whisper to my reflection, "It's not over." I dress again, belt the revolver around my waist, and head out of the trailer. The door thumps shut behind me. Jenkins is waiting by my cruiser. He nods. We share no words. We drive back northwest on US 82. The market's lights wink in the distance. Evidence tech's flares dancing. Beyond, dark roads stretch into nothing. I kill the lights again, then flick them back on. The beam catches something on the horizon. Another pair of headlights creeping toward the Texan star. It's too late for sleep, too late for safety. And as the headlights draw closer, I realize the hunter has turned the light on me. I ease into the shadow of the market's parking lot. The glow of evidence flares, painting everything in harsh white. Blue and red tracers whirl across the cracked asphalt, illuminating the faded striping and the jutting display of empty gas pumps. Jenkins kills his cruiser's lights. I kill mine. We step into the cone of flare light, boots crunching on shattered gravel. The storeroom door hangs limp on its hinges. A yellow evidence tape flutters against the frame. I crouch and peel it back, slipping inside. Techs in blue gloves are dusting every surface. Counters, shelving, a toppled rack of canned goods. Their flashlights bob like nervous fireflies. One tech, Simmons, spots me. "Deputy Boone," he says, voice clipped. "We've bagged the handprint from the passenger door. Sizing indicates juvenile. We got prints from the rebar, too. Smudged, but usable. And, sir, you'll want to see this." He gestures to a metal shelf where a small scrap of paper lies under a clear evidence cup. I lean in. It's a torn page from a priest's hymnal, handwritten verse at the top. In the silence, they wait and watch. Hearts bound by doubt, souls lost in the dark. The edges are singed, curling like burnt paper. Beneath the verse, scrawled hastily in charcoal, again the map of Archer City, but this one more detailed. Side roads, drainage ditches, an outline of a lone oil well marked with an X. Next to it, in neat block letters, where the world ends, so does the watch. I press my palm to the hymnal page, feeling the grit on my fingertips. 100 questions flood me. Jenkins steps in beside me, glances from the page to my face. "Any idea what that means?" he asks quietly. I shake my head. "Number." "But that well?" I nod toward the drawing. "I know that spot. It's on private property just east of Anna Creek. No public access. There was a homicide investigation there in 14. Unrelated. That well's been sealed for years." Simmons squeaks into his radio. "Dispatch. Evidence Tech at Texan Star. We have a potential location indicated in suspect materials. Recommend patrol check coordinates." He looks at me, expectant. I nod. I slip the hymnal page into an evidence bag. Jenkins follows as we step back into the lot. The night air is sharper now, colder. The wind chimes on the pump jack nearby are silent, mechanically frozen. Yet I still feel them rattling in my skull. I climb into my cruiser. Jenkins guns his lights and pulls behind me. I start the engine and we roll east on County Road 17. The gravel road is narrow, overgrown at the edges with mesquite and greasewood. The cruiser's tires spitting pebbles into the dark. I tap my horn once, our signal that it's clear. We advance. No more than a mile down, a locked gate bars the entrance to a stretch of private land. A faded sign warns, "No trespassing, oil field property." Beyond, a maze of pumps and tanks hovers in the dim glow of the moon behind a thin veil of clouds. I shut off the lights and coast to a stop. The gate's padlock is old. I recognized it last time I came for an inspection. I reach for the keys clipped to my belt, county issued for routine inspections. I click the lock open. Jenkins shines his flashlight across the field. "Boone, are you sure about this?" His voice trembles on the A and S. I grip the hymnal bag in my left hand, my right on the door handle. "We can't wait," I reply, voice low. "If this guy's luring us here, he'll vanish again. I need answers." He exhales. "Let's go." We slip through the gate and follow a narrow dirt track that winds between silent pump jacks. Each one stands like a skeletal sentinel, arms outstretched. The ground beneath is caked with oil and sand, slick in places. Jenkins moves close to me, flashlight beam locked on my feet. We pass the first pump jack, its bell clanging softly in the breeze. No footprints. Everything's undisturbed. The second pump jack's fences are ajar, chains undone. My breath quickens. I remember reading that the suspect had been seen here days ago. No official report, but rumors circulated among local ranchers. We reach the third pump jack. This is the one marked on the hymnal map. A single lamp hangs from its beam, flickering weakly. Blue-tinged light pools at its base. Underneath, a circle of flattened gravel surrounds the mechanism, as if something heavy was dragged around it. Jenkins crouches and shines his light on the ground. "Looks recent," he says. "Tire marks and boot prints." Fresh, I step forward, the moonlight breaking through clouds enough to reveal a shallow depression in the dirt, a hand-sized gouge. Blood. Dried and powdery. My pulse soars. I look up at the pump jack's beam and see a rope tied to one of the metal arms, dangling like a noose swaying in slow motion. Beneath it, the faint outline of letters scratched into the beam. "Hunt me." Jenkins swallows. Jesus Christ. I retract my gaze and kneel to examine the blood. My glove touches the soil, it flakes away. Something small catches my flashlight beam. A yellow button pinned to the pump jack's arm. I flick it loose. It's a sheriff's department insignia, our badge identical to the one on my chest. I snap a photo with my phone. Jenkins covers his mouth. "He's mocking you," Jenkins says. I rise, stomach twisting. He's been inside our world longer than we know. My voice is calm but hollow. I scan the area. The wind picks up, rattling every pump jack bell in unison. The ground trembles beneath the rhythm of metal on metal. I raise my head to the clouds, as if pleading for rain or light. Jenkins nudges me. "We should call it in." I consider. If we call it in, we abandon the chance to confront him before he slips away. If we don't, we risk walking into a trap alone, just like at the market. I look at Jenkins. "On 3, I say. "Lights and radio off. We find him. No signal until we're face to face." He nods, lips pale. We count down together and kill the lights and radio. The field dissolves into black. The only sound is the wind and the slow metallic creak of the pump jack arms. We step forward, side by side, into darkness, toward the promise of answers and the certainty of more questions. The ground is slick. My boots slip on oil. I tense for movement, but I sense nothing yet. No shape, no whisper, no echo of children's shoes scuffing gravel. Then, beneath my boot, I feel paper, crumpled like the hymnal page. I kneel, press my fingers to something wedged in the pump jack's base. It's a photo. Me, taken from behind, patrolling a schoolyard. The angle's perfect. My shoulders squared, the sun at my back. No one was there. I never told anyone I was on that call. I pick it up, stare at the glossy surface. On the back, another message in charcoal. "Always watching." My spine shudders. Jenkins' flashlight flickers a heartbeat later, just a flicker, then steadies. I keep my gaze on the photo. My fingers tremble. The world around me spins. "We're not alone," I whisper. My voice cracks. Before Jenkins can respond, a distant thud echoes, metal on metal, like someone stepping on a steel plate. It comes from the dark beyond the third pump jack, somewhere between us and the gate. My hand drops the photo. I draw my revolver, finger on the trigger. Jenkins does the same. We stand frozen, breath visible in the pale moonlight. The thud comes again, closer. A silhouette emerges, tall, lean, moving with a silent, deliberate gait. The arms that swing by its sides are long, fingers curved like talons. Its head turns, and the lamp overhead floods it into view. It's the girl, not the one from the market, the real one. Her eyes are black wells. Her mouth curves into a smile that fractures the dark. Blood streaks down her cheek, but she's alive, ghostly, unwavering. Behind her, the man with the rebar steps out of shadow, his face split with a grin. In his free hand, he holds the hymnal page, now ragged and torn. He raises it, and the page flares to life, flames licking upward, though no wind blows. The world lights up in blue and orange. Jenkins yelps and staggers back. I fire once, a hollow crack that echoes like a bell. The girl stands, unshaken. The man's grin widens, and he tilts his head. "Welcome home, Sheriff," he says, voice hollow and familiar. "We've been waiting." The pump jacks groan in response, and the flames on the page stretch skyward, threatening to consume us all. I drive through the darkness toward the distant glow of the pump jack field, heart pounding in time with each mile. I don't know how long we've been out here. Minutes, hours, maybe both. The cracked gravel road crunches beneath the cruiser's tires as I kill the headlights one final time. Jenkins reaches over, kills his radio, and we roll in near total silence. The wind picks up, rattling the pump jack chimes in a low, hollow chorus. I step out first, revolver drawn, each breath stabbing at my lungs. The beam from Jenkins's flashlight swings over the skeletal pumps and clumps of greasewood until it settles on a narrow path leading between two of the rigs. I follow, boots crunching on oil-slicked gravel. No moonlight penetrates here, just the sickly glow of Jenkins's light. My pulse echoes in my ears. I remember every sound from the night: the girl's ragged breath, the man's heavy footfalls, the static whisper of the radio. They're all here, buried in the earth beneath these pumps. We move in a single file, crouched low. The hymnal page burned in my coat pocket, its edges like embers against my chest. The photo from the schoolyard in my hand, proof that someone has traced me beyond these lands, into the lives I thought were sacred. The beam lands on something, faint at first but unmistakable, a circle of stone set on the ground, blackened at the center as if something was burned here. I kneel, sweep away debris. In the middle, brittle ashes and a solitary finger bone, bleached white. A child's. I swallow. Jenkins stifles a groan behind me. The bone lies on the charred earth, as if intentionally placed. My hand hovers over it, but I don't touch. A memory crashes in, that girl's hollow stare, the word watched, seared in charcoal, the map's red X's. I stand, raise my gun, and sweep the light upward. That's when I see it. A figure crouched atop the pump jack arm, silhouetted against a ragged strip of clouded sky. Thin, still, watching. I shout, "Come down with your hands up." My voice cracks. The figure tilts its head, two pale eyes reflecting the flashlight beam. Then it drops from the arm, landing silently on the gravel below. Jenkins fires instinctively, once, twice, but his shots go wide. My blood hammers as I snap off cover fire, slugs tearing into the oil-soaked ground. The figure ducks into the darkness between the rigs. "Spread out," I roar. We fan left and right, boots scattering gravel. Every pump jack is a potential nest, every shadow a hiding place. My gun hand trembles. I'm burning with adrenaline and cold dread. Behind me, the faint echo of metal crunching. I spin toward the sound. There, pressed against the rusted side of a storage tank, the man with the rebar. His face is a mask of triumph and grief, eyes glinting with madness. He holds the charred hymnal page, now burnt halfway through, the words flickering at the edges like dying flames. He raises it high, voice ragged. He's watched me for years. Now it's my turn. I take a breath to shoot, but a shriek cuts through the night. A child's cry, sharp, desperate, coming from deeper within the field. The man's grin widens. Jenkins clamps a hand to his mouth to stifle a curse. Without thinking, I sprint toward the cry, bullets whistling past me. Gravel flies under my boots. I don't know where I'm running. Right, left, I can't tell. But I follow the scream as it echoes through the maze of pumps. Suddenly, the ground gives way beneath me. I stumble into a shallow pit, hidden under stray boards and oil cans. I hit my shoulder on metal, pain explodes, and I gulp air. My revolver flies out of my hand. I lie on my back, chest heaving. Above me, Jenkins' light. He's yelling, calling my name, but the cry again, closer now in my ear. A tiny voice. "Help me." I scramble up, back to my feet, sacrifice stability for urgency, my shoulder bleeding. I sweep the light toward the edge of the pit. Just beyond, a silhouette. A child, arms outstretched. The little girl from the market, her eyes dull, tears muddy on her cheeks. I drop to one knee and reach out. "It's okay, I've got you." She tugs at my sleeve. He's coming. A rasp of metal above. I look up. On the pump jack arm overhead, Dozens of small white figures, dolls ragged and hanging by wires. Each one wears a tiny badge, sheriff's department insignia, just like mine. They sway in the wind, clicking against each other like bones. I bring my light up to the man on the arm. He stands proud, rebar in hand. Blood drips from a rag tied around his wrist. He lifts the hymnal page, now reduced to ashes, in his palm. The page crumbles, wind catches it, and it drifts down around us like dark snow. His voice, "She's mine. And now you'll join her." Jenkins fires again. The shot reverberates, but he's too far. Only the pump jack clanks in reply. I grab the girl, hoist her into my arms. She's heavier than she looks. Blood seeps through my shirt from my shoulder. Every breath hurts. "We're getting out," I say. Jenkins appears next to me, gun aimed at the man. He laughs, a sound like nails on metal. "Run, Sheriff, run forever. They'll snatch her back before dawn, and you'll watch." I turn on my heel, sprint toward the gate. Gravel sprays in every direction. The girl clings to me, silent now. Jenkins covers our retreat, shots echoing behind. We burst through the gate. The cruiser's lights cut on at my shout. I fling the girl into the passenger seat. Jenkins levels his gun at the gate's darkness. I gun the engine. Tires spin, flinging dirt. The field silhouette shrinks in the mirror. The wind chimes, the dolls, the ash, all swallowed by the Texas night. Sirens wail on the horizon. The girl leans against the door, eyes closed. The world blurs as we charge toward safety, but I know we're still in the open, still hunted. And in the rear view, beyond headlights and sirens, I see a figure standing by the pump jack, a lone silhouette raising a hand in farewell or challenge. I don't look again. I drive on, the girl asleep beside me, pulse in her temple echoing my own. I kill the engine in front of the Texan Star and sit for a moment in the hush, the glow of emergency lights painting the dashboard in harsh blue and red. The girl is curled in the passenger seat, breathing shallow but steady. I rest my hand on the door handle, feeling the tremor in my fingers. Jenkins is pacing behind the cruiser, radio clutched in his hand, eyes flicking to every shadow around the market's broken windows. I pull the revolver from my belt and clear the cylinder, 5 rounds remaining. I press the barrel against the palm of my hand, testing its cold weight, wishing I could be so certain of who I'll face next. I glance at the hymnal page, still sealed in the evidence packet on the passenger floor. Its edges are singed, but the verse is intact, mocking me. In the silence, they wait and watch. I exhale slowly, unholstering the radio. "Dispatch," I say, voice hoarse. "This is Boone. We have victim in custody, multiple prints, and potential location for suspect materials at private oil field east of Anna Creek. Request state trooper assistance and air support." "Copy?" Static hisses, then dispatch. "Copy, Boone. Troopers and air unit en route. Hold position." I click off the mic, heart hammering in the sudden quiet. I glance at the girl. She's awake, eyes fixed on the pump jack silhouettes beyond the windshield. She grips my shirt sleeve. Her voice is a rasp. "They're everywhere." "Who?" I ask, leaning across the console. My back aches. I feel every clutch of the night's madness in my spine. She shakes her head, whispering, "They watch the lights." I swallow hard. She's confused, terrified, but speaking some truth. The lights were the lure, the flares, the headlights. They brought him out of hiding, but he used those lights against us, drawing us deeper. Jenkins approaches the driver's window, flashlight looping across my boots. "Boone, you okay?" I rub my temple. As okay as I'll ever be. I open the door and step out. He follows. The urgency at the market is muted now. Crime scene tape, hushed texts, the distant whir of a drone's searchlight spinning overhead. I walk around the cruiser to the passenger side and kneel beside the girl. "Listen," I say softly. "You're safe now. I'm going to get you help." Her chest rises and falls. She nods once. Then she blinks hard and falls silent, eyes closing. I stand. Jenkins hands me a bottle of water. I take a grateful gulp. The cold liquid slices through the grit in my throat. I wipe my mouth, then hold the bottle out. He shrugs and takes a sip himself. "We need to process the scene," Jenkins says, voice low. "But I think we both know the market isn't where this ends." I nod, running a hand through my sweaty hair. He's setting up a final trap. He wants us to chase shadows so he can slip in where we aren't looking. Jenkins scans the lot. Empty, except for techs at work. "What's your call?" I weigh my options. If I stay here, evidence techs will secure prints and the hymnal page, but the girl needs a safe place and answers. If I go to the station, I can review records, but the suspect could strike again. And if I head to the oil field now, I risk running into him alone, with nothing but a cruiser's beam and my revolver. My phone buzzes. A text from dispatch. "Trooper Matthews ETA 15 minutes, air unit ETA 20 minutes. I pocket the phone. "Let's suit up," I say. "We'll secure the girl with the troopers when they arrive. Then we head east to the pump jacks. We end this tonight." Jenkins nods. "I'll call it in." He steps back, presses his radio. "All units, Boone and Jenkins moving to private oil field. Stand by for updates." His voice echoes through the lot. I return to the passenger door, unbuckle the girl and lift her carefully, tucking her against my chest. She's lighter than I expected, but stiff, like her fear has frozen every muscle. I carry her toward the cruiser's trunk, where I've designated a blanket and first aid kit. The trunk lid squeaks as I close it. The girl's soft whimpers muffled by the quilt folded inside. I hop into the driver's seat and adjust the mirror. The world outside is a blur of lights and shadows. My pulse thrums in my ears. I take a steadying breath. "Ready?" Jenkins holds the door for me. I nod. He closes it, gun drawn. We roll out of the market, lights off, heading east on FM 1062. The girl is safe in the trunk, but my mind races. How many more traps? How many more innocents lured by a curiosity they couldn't resist? We kick onto County Road 17, the gravel launching sparks under the chassis. The road is narrow, hemmed by mesquite and rusted pipeline sections that vanish into the night. The air smells of oil and dry earth, a scent I know too well. Ahead, a line of lights. Trooper cruisers forming a blockade at the field's gate. Their beams cut like knives through the dark. I pull up behind them. Trooper Matthews, mid-40s and stone-faced, steps into the road, flashlight in hand. He nods curtly as Jenkins rolls down the window. "Show me," he says. I point to the map scribbled on the hymnal page, now logged as evidence. "He marked this well. We found the dolls and the bones beneath it. He'll be there." Matthews glances at Jenkins, then back to me. "You two clear on protocol?" I meet his eyes. "Yes, sir. We're going in light." I pause. "Sir, I need to stop him, even if it means I go in alone." Matthews hesitates. His eyes flick to Jenkins, then back. "All right, Boone, you lead. Jenkins, you cover. Troopers on perimeter, no one in or out." He taps his shoulder mic. "Air unit, confirm position and stand by." My chest tightens, but I nod. Let's move. We step through the gate. The oil field pumps loom like silent watchers. The wind is low, carrying the chime of chains and the faint hum of a generator. The ground underfoot is slick. Matthews swings his light beam across the complex. Tanks, pipes, a maze of catwalks and ladders. Two troopers fan left and right. PR-24 batons in hand, tense and ready. Jenkins holds the hymnal evidence bag now, guarding it like a sacred relic. I carry just my revolver and the photo from the schoolyard, the last proof of how deeply our lives have been invaded. We move toward the third pump jack, its lamp dim. I step into the circle of flattened gravel. My boot presses into the oily residue. I look up at the arm, half painted in flickering lamplight. The rope noose is gone, the dolls are gone, the blood is scrubbed away. It's a hollow shell, as if nothing happened, except for the gouge where the bones were found. I crouch and sweep my flashlight over the debris. No prints, no shards of glass, no sign of struggle. Just the oil-stained gravel and a circle of dark, residue that glistens like a bruise in the light. A slow whistle cuts through the field. I snap upright. The troopers freeze. Matthews signals to stay quiet. The wind dies instantly. Silence roars in my ears. From behind the pump jack, a shape steps forward. Tall, thin, wrapped in a tattered black coat that flaps in the wind. The hood falls back, revealing the man, scarred jaw, blood-stained coat, eyes bright with madness. He raises his free hand, the charred hymnal page held like a prize. "Welcome," he says, voice echoing across the lot. "You've come exactly as I hoped." My revolver rises. Jenkins pulls out handcuffs. The troopers fan wider. The man smiles, lips peeled back thin. In his grip, the page bleeds ash onto the gravel. The wind picks up, swirling the ash into a tornado around him. The man takes a step forward. I swallow the dread curling in my gut. This is it, the final confrontation. The girl's life, my family's safety, the sanity of every patrolman out here. It all hangs on this moment. I take a breath and step forward, revolver steady. But before I can speak or fire, the man's grin splits wider, and he murmurs, almost to himself, "They'll all watch you fall." He closes his eyes and the wind dies. The ash drifts down like dark snow, coating the world in silence. The man is gone. Only the pump jacks remain, still silent. The troopers look at me, confusion and fear in their eyes. Jenkins lowers his cuffs. I stand alone in the circle of gravel, the revolver still pointed at empty air. The wind kicks up again, rattling the chimes in the tanks. I glance down. There, in the oil-stained rock, new writing scraped into the gravel. The watch is never over. No suspect, no suspect, no suspect. The final trap was a ghost. I holster my revolver and close my eyes, listening to the wind and the echo of my own breath. The troopers step forward, searching the shadows. Jenkins shines his light on the gravel, fresh footprints leading into the deep mesquite beyond the field. I lean on the pump jack's leg, mind racing. The hunt isn't over. It never will be. Not until I stop whoever they are. I radio dispatch, Boone to dispatch. Suspect evaded on foot. Request immediate pursuit team in mesquite area. Air support to begin grid search. As the drone's searchlight cranes overhead and troopers fan out into the brush, I stare at the pump jack arm and whisper under my breath, "I'm watching back." I hit the ignition and roll through the gate again, the convoy of troopers following in silence. The girl is secured in the back of the lead trooper's cruiser. Trooper Matthews insisted she be moved before we re-enter the field. Jenkins rides shotgun in my cruiser, eyes darting into every clump of mesquite as we speed down the gravel track. Our headlights carve twin tunnels of yellow into the darkness. I pull up beside the first pump jack and kill my lights. The convoy stops behind me. I step out, wrenching open the door, revolver drawn. The night air is thick with oil and dust, and the faint metallic tang of fear. Around us, the pump jacks stand like silent sentinels. arms raised as if to strike. Each one glints under the convoy's floodlights. My boots sink into oil-slick gravel as I crouch beside the pump jack's leg and inspect the ground. There, fresh footprints leading northeast toward the old drainage canal. Bare footprints, as if someone slipped off their boots. Jenkins kneels beside me, shining his flashlight. "They head that way," he murmurs. I nod and rise, signaling the troopers. "Perimeter team, stay here. 2 of you flank right. Jenkins and I left. Move fast, no breaks." The troopers fan out, PR 24s at the ready. I crouch low, revolver forward. Jenkins mirrors me, flashlight in one hand, gun in the other. We step off the gravel pad into the sea of greasewood and mesquite. The scrub is thick. Our legs snare on thorny branches. The moon is gone behind clouds, so our only guide is the thin line of light from the convoy's spotlights, now dim and flickering. My heart hammers. Every sound is magnified, twigs snapping, leaves rustling, the soft rasp of the wind. I remember the girl's whisper. They watch the lights. Those flares lured him here. Now he wants the darkness. The troopers behind us flash their lights into the scrub, carving arcs of brightness. No movement. We reach the canal's edge, a narrow gully cracked by years of drought. The banks are steep. The creek bed is filled with dead reeds and mud. I shine my light down. Halfway along, a flattened patch of reeds. It looks like a blanket laid out. I gesture. Jenkins moves to my side. We slide down together. At the bottom, the beam hits a shape wrapped in a muddy tarp. I lift my foot on the corner. The tarp peels back. Blood-smeared arms bound at the wrists. A body, adult male, eyes closed, face pale. My stomach lurches. It's one of the missing from Archer City, a ranch hand who vanished a month ago. The body is in sick shape. He's been here days. I kneel, check for a pulse. Cold, my jaw clenches. I radio dispatch. Boone, body recovered in canal. Victim ID pending, forensics to Canal Gully. I pause, staring at the dead man's face. He's young, maybe mid-30s, dark hair matted with mud. His badge is pinned to his chest. Another department's insignia, worn down like the others. He was lured here the same way. I stand, sickened. Jenkins shines his light up the canal bank. A smear of ash covers a patch of dirt. 5 letters scrawled in charcoal. Join me. I trace the letters with my fingertip. The ash flakes into dust. My throat burns. I force myself to breathe. A twig snaps behind us. I spin, revolver up. A tripwire. 2 thin wires strung from a low mesquite branch to a steel rod. A pressure plate sits under a clump of reeds. A tripwire bomb. My heart thuds. I shout, "Freeze! Everyone back. Bomb threat." Troopers scatter back up the bank, dragging Jenkins and me with them. From above, our convoy's floodlights flicker faster. The girl's cruiser's lights momentarily flare to full high beam, then dim. I look up to see the pump jack lamps light one by one, ghostly illumination 2 miles from the canal. The mechanical bells on each pump jack begin to ring in unison, a skeletal music echoing through the night. I curse, spin my flashlight toward the noise. In the glare of the pump jack lights, I see dozens of small figures, ragged dolls, strung on wires between the rigs. Each doll wears a badge, sheriff's star, trooper crest, park ranger insignia, paramedic emblem. They sway in the wind, clicking against each other like knives sliding over metal. Jenkins cocks his head. What? What is that? I swallow hard. He wants us to see. He wants us to know he can strike anywhere. My jaw sets. We clear out, now. Get the girl to safety and evacuate the perimeter. I radio dispatch. All units, pull back to County Road. Suspect rigged multiple IEDs, air support, stand clear, detonate if needed. Sirens wail in the distance as troopers reel back up the bank. We head for the floodlit opening in the scrub. My legs feel like lead. I glance at the canal below. Open graves, tripwires, bodies, 1,000 questions. Back at the cruisers, Matthews meets me. "Boone, what the hell is this?" His voice wavers. I wipe sweat from my brow. He's making a statement. He's been here all along. Patient, calculating. He knows every call we run. The girl's face appears at the back window of the trooper cruiser. She presses her forehead to the glass, eyes wet. I step closer and kneel. "Hey," I say softly. "It's over, for now. You're safe." She gazes at me, brittle. "They won't hurt you." I swear. She doesn't respond, just blinks and turns away. We fall silent as the field erupts. A low thud, then a blast, detonated by air support. The pump jack lights and dolls vaporize in a fireball, metal twisting, flames leaping. The heat washes over us, the concussion rattling our bones. I cover my ears, heart pounding. When the dust clears, only ruins remain. Melted tanks, twisted pipes, charred earth. The dolls are gone, the corpses incinerated. The bodies in the canal. No, they were out here too. Victims left to burn on the rigs. The girl must have seen it all. My stomach twists. I stand, revolver down. I stare at the ruins. The hissing of steam and fire is the only sound. Jenkins places a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" he asks, voice low. I nod, but my mouth tastes of ash and blood. "We got calls to log, bodies to identify." I turn to the convoy. "Let's move. Get her to the hospital. I need to call my boss. Tell him this is far from over." I climb into my cruiser, headlights off. The ruins cast ghostly silhouettes in the side mirrors. I drive away slowly, headlamp cutting a narrow path on the gravel. The field shrinks behind me, but the whistle of wind in the wreckage haunts me. At the hospital, I walk through corridors lit by harsh fluorescence. The girl is wheeled down on a gurney, blankets pulled tight. Nurses hurry past, eyes wide. I slip into the hallway and lean against the wall, arms crossed. My badge and revolver hang at my waist, heavy as my conscience. A doctor emerges, shaking his head. "Deputy Boone, she's stable. Shock, dehydration, hypothermia. She's young, resilient. We'll admit her for observation." I exhale. This is the first flicker of relief I've felt in hours, but then the doctor's gaze flicks to the door. "Sir, you alone?" I nod. "Yeah." I reach to rub my eyes, tired. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Unknown number. I answer. A voice, distant and calm. "Good work, Sheriff. You played right into my hands. But thank you. You made it easy." My blood turns to ice. "Who is this?" I choke out. The voice laughs, a whisper like a breeze through mesquite. "I'm the watch in the dark, the one who sees all. Tonight was a demonstration. The finale is only beginning." The line clicks dead. I stare at the phone, heart hammering. The corridor's fluorescent hum seems to mock me. I pocket the phone and take a shuddering breath. The hospital walls close in, antiseptic and silence. I step outside into the night air, cool and still. The girl's cries echo from within. My pulse throbs. I look north, toward home, toward safety that no longer exists. My shoulder burns where the bullet grazed me. Every breath reminds me of that moonless night. I murmur into the darkness, "I'll find you." My voice is raw, and I'll end this. But as I turn and walk back into the hospital, I know the truth. Out here in northwest Texas, under endless sky, the watch never ends. And tonight, the darkness is only just beginning to close in. I'm back on 10-6, headlights cutting V-shaped paths through the pitch-black fields west of Highway 90. My cruiser's temperature gauge sits on the low end, but I can feel the night pressing in through my chest, heavier than any Texas heat wave. The CB's silent, just occasional static hiss that reminds me how alone I really am. I kill the engine at the driveway of the old Miller place, steep gravel crunching under my boots as I step into the electric quiet. My light flicks on, painting the sagging porch boards in ghost white. I can almost taste the dust in the air, fine red grit that coats my throat when I breathe. Dispatch had sent me here after a neighbor reported a flicker of light inside the farmhouse. She sounded shaken, voice tight, like she'd spat out her coffee when the glow appeared. A well check, they'd said. Code 6 traffic in and out. Well, code or no code, my gut told me something was off. Long before I ever saw this place. The Miller house hasn't had residents in untaxed years. Property records say it was abandoned in 2017. You'd think tumbleweeds and scorpions, not electricity. I shoulder check the front door. It yields with a groan, splinters cracking at the frame. My hand rests on my service pistol, Smith & Wesson .357, snug in its holster. I ease inside, light sweeping over a threadbare sofa, a rusted stove, walls where wallpaper peels in brittle strips. The room smells of rot and old cigarette smoke. Dried bloodstains crust the hearth, maybe animal, maybe something worse. I steady my breath, reminding myself, routine, just a routine check. Footprints lead from the entry to a hallway beyond. A single set in dusty carpet, pressed deep like someone was picking his steps carefully. My chest tightens. I crouch and inspect. Size 10 boot tread, Western style, the same brand we issue, maybe. My boot or my partner's, or someone who wanted me to feel hunted. I key the mic. Fox to dispatch, the floor's clear. Following prints down the hall, I'll check back. No response. Static rattles. Code 7 on this radio, I swear. I rise and press forward. Each step slow, measured. The hall feels colder. A draft slipping through cracks in the walls. The beam of my flashlight trembles across a side door, cracked just enough to hint at movement inside. I draw breath and knock. 2 sharp raps. Sheriff's office. Show yourself. Silence. Hand on holster, I push the door open. Kitchen. Old radio on the counter, cord severed. Dishes piled in the sink. Rusty knife on the floor. No footprints here, only scuff marks like someone slid their foot, dragging into the next room. No prints in the dust, bare soles. I crouch, eye level with the floor. No toes, no heels. Bare skin wouldn't leave prints in this carpeted room. But still, why go barefoot in a place like this? I stand and sweep the beam toward the back door. The window beside it is shattered. Moonlight cuts through, illuminating a single boot print on the threshold, the matching left footprint missing. Spooky, almost theatrical. I bite my lip. This whole thing feels like a setup. I leave the kitchen and circle back to the hall. My flashlight catches a glint on the wall, something metallic. I step closer. A rusted horseshoe hammered above a doorway. Superstition says it keeps evil away. Here, it looks like a death wish. I cross into the next room. Bedroom 1. Matted rug, bare mattress frame, no sheets. Clothes scattered on the floor. Jeans folded neatly, boots side by side. No person. I swallow dry. Whoever was here shed their skin and vanished. No blood, no struggle, just gone. My radio clicks, static again, louder. I drop to one knee and flick the power switch, dark. Dead battery, perfect. I tap the mic instinctively. Nothing. I'm cut off. A faint scratch, wood on wood, from behind. I spin, light jerking. Footsteps, a whimper? Hard to tell. I train my beam toward the hall. Empty. but the air trembles like something just moved through it. I swallow, grip tightening on the pistol. Time slows. A distant creak. Floorboard behind me. I pivot again. Light catches a blurred shape in the doorway. A coat rack with a long coat, collar turned up. For a heartbeat, I think someone's leaning there. Then it's gone. Just coat, empty hanger. I edge past the coat rack toward the front door. Every nerve screams, "Don't turn around." But curiosity and duty win. I glance back. In the foyer mirror, I see a reflection, not mine, shoulders hunched lower, outline too slender. Flashlight jerk, beam whips across the room. Nothing. I sprint for the door. Hand on the knob, twist, and stumble outside. The night air hits me like a punch. I fall back against the frame, heart pounding. I look up. The porch light is on, old yellow bulb flickering like a dying pulse. It was off when I came in. It's on now. I pull out my phone. No signal. I key the mic. Box to dispatch. Door light on. Something's here. I'm pulling back. No answer. I slam the door shut, lock it, and double-check before I stagger to my cruiser. I hammer the keys. Engine roars. CB microphone lifts. I pant into it. Dispatch, this is Fox. I'm pulling 10-7. I need units on Highway 90, Miller House. Possible trespasser. Codes uncertain. Silence. Just static. I shift into drive and peel out onto the gravel. Rear window shows the porch light spluttering off, then on again. I don't look back. The tires spin, kicking up dust that glows under the moon. I floor it to County Road 142, away from the house, away from whatever that was. Now I'm on the highway, miles from that place. The CB crackles one more time. Faint voice. Anyone copy? I stay silent. My pulse slows, but the memory burns forward. The footprints, the coat rack, the light that shouldn't have been on, the shape in the mirror. I grip the wheel. The road stretches empty ahead. My radio silent. I'm on 10-7, done for the night, but I know I'll come back. Because someone's waiting in that house, and next time, they might not let me leave. I flick the dome light off and kill the engine, letting the silence swallow me whole. My boots crunch the gravel as I step onto the porch of the old Miller place. The air is thick, so still it feels suffocating, as if the land itself is holding its breath. I reach for the door with my left hand, right still hovering by my holster. My fingertips brush the weathered wood, splintered in places, old paint peeling like dead skin. The knob is cold metal, ice against my palm. I turn it slowly. It clicks, the latch loose from years of disuse, and I ease the door open. Inside, the beam of my flashlight splits the darkness in two. The main room is a museum of abandonment. A threadbare couch with stuffing poking through, an oil lamp tipped on its side, broken glass scattered among dust-coated floorboards. I inhale, tasting rancid smoke, cigarette, wood rot, and something coppery. I flick on the radio mic. Box to dispatch, on scene, entering the building. Static crackles back, no response. Code 6, they said, clear it in and out. Tonight I'm anything but clear. I move forward, one boot in front of the other, beam scanning the walls. Old family photos, black and white faces frozen in time, hang crooked from nails that have rusted. I see a little girl in a sundress, wind-blown hair, smiling at a summer she'll never reclaim. I think of my own kids. How long has it been since I pushed them on a swing? Since I heard their laughter echo through an empty yard? I swallow the ache in my chest and press on. Footprints in the dust. One set, size 10. Heel forward, toe drag. Someone was here. I crouch to inspect. The prints lead from the front door past a toppled rocking chair and into a narrow hallway. I gesture with the flashlight tracing the path. Deputy Fox to dispatch, following prints down the hall. Silence again. The hallway is darker, narrower. Wallpaper peels like curled leaves. Pastel flowers faded to brown. My light catches the edge of a door at the far end. It's cracked, just enough to suggest something pushed from inside. I steel myself, grip on flashlight tightening, and reach out. My hand trembles, though I won't admit it. I push the door open. Inside is a bedroom. No mattress on the spring frame, only dust and a tattered sheet. At the foot of the bed, a pair of boots, identical to mine, stood neatly side by side. Next to them, jeans folded over a chair, shirt draped over the backrest. No owner. I step inside. The boots leave prints in the dust, barefoot. Someone wore my boots, then shed them here. My heart hammers. I swallow hard, voice low when I speak. Show yourself. This is law enforcement. No answer. Only the hum of the wind seeping through broken windows. I sweep the beam over the room. Dresser with drawers pulled halfway out, clothes lying in haphazard piles. A shattered mirror on the floor reflecting my face, hollow-eyed and unshaven. I feel bile rise. This isn't theft, it's a message. I back out into the hall. The door slams behind me. I spin, firearm drawn, slide back, hammer cocked. Flashlight beam juts across the hall, nothing but shadows. I can't force my breathing to calm. I inch forward, step by step, ears straining for any sound beyond my own thudding pulse. A soft click, floorboard behind me. I whirl around. Hall is empty. But there, at the far end, the kitchen, door stands open. Pale light from my porch lamp bleeds underneath. I cross quickly, each footfall deliberate. My back brushes the wall, fingertips grazing peeling paint. The kitchen is a tomb, counters caked in grime, sink overflowing with rusty water, cabinets ajar. On the table lies an old CB radio, mic resting atop. Its power light is on, faint green glow. I kneel, flick my finger on the switch. Static crackles loud, then clears into a broken voice. "Anyone there?" I freeze. The voice is distant, young, female. I tap mic. "Sheriff's office, who's there?" No reply, only static. Then faint laughter, childlike, echoing through the speakers. It glitches, warps into wheezing sobs. I bail backward, drawing my weapon. Something scrapes the window behind me. I turn toward the sound, shattered pane, curtains billowing inward. A figure stands outside the window, backlit by moonlight, slender and still. I raise my gun, voice taut, "Don't move." The figure raises its arms slowly, then steps back into darkness. My chest aches. I holster my weapon, phone out. No signal. I dial dispatch, rings without answer. I curse. I need backup. I need firepower. I need everyone. Footsteps on the porch. Mine, then another. I spin. The front door creaks, then slams from the inside. I charge it, hand on the knob, twist, locked. Someone locked me in. I pound with my fist. "Dispatch! They've locked me in. Come on!" My bathed in adrenaline scream rings, hollow. The radio mic slides from my pocket, static again. Laughter on the frequency, low and hollow. I grab the radio. "Fox here. Stop!" It clicks off. Panic claws at me. I push the door again. Nothing. I scan for another exit. The kitchen window too high. Back door? Maybe. I slip from the other room, guided by meager moonlight. Dust motes swirl. The hallway stretches into darkness. I walk, heartbeat echoing in my skull. I see it, fresh footprints in the dust, leading away from the front door toward the back. But the footprints stop abruptly at the wall. No turning, no exit. It's as if the person walked right into the brick and vanished. I kneel, trace the prints. Heel prints flat, no toe drag. Bare again. I stand. A low humming permeates the house. Electrical? Engines? I don't know. I grip my flashlight tight, jiggling the beam. It flickers over walls, ceilings, floors, everywhere. I feel eyes on me. I know single figure outside watches through the window. I rush the kitchen, flick the CB radio again, silence. I fling it from my hand. It shatters against the wall. I feel blood trickle from my knuckle. I don't care. I run for the back door, thumb to the latch, yank. It bursts open. Cold wind slams me in the face. I stumble outside. Moonlight reveals no footprints, nothing in the grass, only fields stretching into the night. The air smells of ozone and something floral, strange for the desert. I make for my cruiser, gravel shifts. I glance back, the farmhouse stands silent, dark windows like empty eyes. Porch light gone. The CB radio on the table in my car crackles one last time. 10-7, 10-7. I throw open the door, slam inside, and start the engine. Tires bite into gravel as I peel out. Rearview mirror, nothing but fields. I wipe sweat and tears from my face. Knees shaking. I push my radio mic to my lips. Dispatch, Fox. I'm on 10-7. Miller Place is compromised. Recommend full perimeter and K9 unit. Silence. I watch the gauge climb as I speed down the road. Static hisses. My reflection swims in the glass. Hollow eyes, drawn cheeks, face a mask of terror and shame. I grip the wheel, whisper, "They're still here." I'm still on 10-6, miles from that house, and I already know I'll never leave this night behind. I'm driving west on Highway 90, tires humming against the asphalt, eyes stinging with exhaustion and adrenaline. Behind me, the Miller Place disappears in my rearview mirror, just a silhouette against the moonlit sky. But I know it's still there, waiting. The CB microphone lies in my lap. Dead weight, its static hisses a reminder of how cut off I am. I flip it over in my hands, thumb brushing the corner where the paint's worn. I can almost hear that child's laughter again, echoing through the radio speaker. I slam a fist on the steering wheel, knuckles cracking. No more, not tonight. But something pulls me back. An itch at the base of my skull, a drumbeat in my chest. Who was that figure in the window? Whose boots did I find? And why does every print disappear into thin air? Questions spiral, each answer I find only deepening the mystery. My mind replays the scene. Crouching by the boots, the hush of dust under my knees, and then the door slamming shut behind me as laughter twisted into sobs. That moment, when the house transformed from empty ruin into a trap, has me hollowed out. I reach over and adjust the mirror. My reflection stares back. Hollow eyes ringed with exhaustion. Beard 5 days stubble. Uniform rumpled. I haven't even checked the mileage or patrol log. I flip on, the dome light, bright white against the darkness, glance at my phone. Still no bars, not a single one. I choke back a swear. I'm on my own out here, in a part of Texas so remote that even the VHF towers cannot reach. I kill the dome light. Darkness returns, swallowing me. I ease the cruiser into a pull-off spot. Wide gravel shoulder, no markers, just endless scrub. I step out, and the wind hits me like an avalanche. Hot desert air swirling with grit, stinging my eyes. I cup my hand over my flashlight lens and sweep the horizon. No headlights, no movement. Nothing but the land yawning into night. I take 3 deep breaths, chest heaving. I key the mic. Fox to dispatch. I'm off the road for now. Need to clear my head. Static. I let it crackle. I imagine dispatch cutting me loose, calling my code, writing me off as drunk on adrenaline. Doesn't matter. I need to think. I return to the driver's door, half open, and grab my patrol bag from the floorboard. Inside, extra batteries, a folding knife, Gloves, notepad, and the hat I dropped earlier. I pull the batteries, load one into the flashlight, and pop the old one in my pocket. I snap on a glove and retrieve the radio mic. If that voice comes back, I'll be ready. I lean against the hood, stare at the distant lights of Van Horn, 2 pinpricks on the horizon. The night stretches between us like a canyon. I close my eyes, and the memory of the farmhouse seeps in. Peeling wallpaper, the horseshoe on the wall, photographs with missing faces, the tops of picture frames hiding smudged names. Every detail etched into my mind. I flip open the notepad. Under Miller House, I've scribbled bullet points. Porch light flicker, single set of boot prints inside, barefoot prints in some rooms, boots and clothes left behind, CB static turned to child's laughter, locked doors, windows broken, shapen window, mirror reflection. I read the list twice. Each item is a puzzle piece, but I have no box to guide me. I write at the bottom, return with backup, search warrants, K9. Then I erase it. Too late. I need answers now, not later. I zip the bag shut and head back to the cruiser. I slide into the seat, engine silent. I don't start it. Instead, I sit, breathe. My senses sharpen. I hear the tire chains on a distant semi rolling by, faint hum. A breeze rattles the overhead console. A cricket, or a cicada, chirps. Somewhere, a dog barks. Each sound pulses, filling the space around me. Every noise in the desert night becomes an amplifier for my fear. My hand drifts to the door handle. I open it and step out again. I pace, boots crunching over gravel. I draw patterns in the dust. Straight lines, circles. I study the ground as if it holds secrets. After a few minutes, I squat and press my gloved palm against the earth, rolling it between my fingers. Dry, coarse. No footprints here naturally. But footprints at Miller, human, deliberate, like someone walked in unbound by physics. I stand, brush off my glove, and decide, tonight I go back. I have to. I grip the bag strap and march to the cruiser. Lights on, doors locked. I navigate back to the farmhouse. Each mile closer, the weight in my gut sinks deeper. The road narrows, edges forgiving no margin for error. Mesquite and chaparral crowd the asphalt. If I veer off, I'm stuck in scrub. When I pull up, the house sits darker than before. No glow, no porch light, no telling what will greet me inside. I kill the engine, sit for a moment. My reflection in the dash seems gaunt. I lean forward, whisper, "Here we go again." I step onto the porch. The night air is cooler here, a different breeze slicing through the dust. I inhale and push open the front door. It moves soundlessly, like it's been waiting for me. Inside, I flip on the tactical light and sweep the main room. It's empty, exactly as I left it. The couch, the lamp, the calendar, unchanged. I follow the footprints down the hallway. The dust is faint, someone, or something, has brushed through. I crouch, eye level with the trail. The prints lead past the rocking chair into the first bedroom. I press forward, every nerve alight. Sweat beads at my hairline. In the bedroom, I exhale sharply. The boots are back, but this time they're scattered. One on the bed frame, one on the floor. Legs of the jeans hanging limply from the chair. Like a man discarded his skin in a hurry. The walls are scratched with tooth marks. Tiny gouges where paint has chipped. As if someone bit the wood in terror. I shine the light on the claw's etchings. 4-inch gashes that angle downward. My heart skips. I step inside, flashlight trembling. I crouch, inspect the chair. The jeans have handprints smudged with dust and something darker. Rust? Blood? I press a finger against the fabric. Dry, caked. I touch the stain to my tongue. Metallic, copper. I swallow, my hands quiver. I stand, adjust the light to the mirror fragment still leaning in the corner. Part of it has tumbled from where I left it. It lies face up on the floor. I pick it up and angle it toward my face. Reflected is only me and the flashlight glare, but behind me in the mirror's edge, I glimpse a shape. Tall, spindly, limbs twisted. I drop the mirror. It smashes, shards scattering. My pistol's in my hand before I even realize I drew it. The hallway is silent. The only sound, my ragged breathing. I step back toward the door, pistol raised, light sweeping. At the threshold, my boot catches a shard. I stumble, slam into the wall. Pain flares in my shoulder. I curse. I squeeze the trigger once into the ceiling. Military round punching through dry plaster. Dust drips down. I shove the door open into the hall. The house trembles with the echo. For an instant, something scuttles across the floor. Barefoot, fast, the scrape of nails on wood. I spin, beam darting, nothing. Then I hear it. A soft voice, breathy, behind me. Deputy Fox. My blood runs ice cold. I whirl. Pistol aimed at empty air. The beam lands on nothing. The voice repeats, tinny, childlike. Deputy Fox, you shouldn't have come back. An electric jolt cracks through me. I backpedal. My shoulder throbs. I grip the wall, slide down until I'm seated on the floor. Pistol barrel jerks up and down, light dancing. The voice continues. They said to wait, but I couldn't. Tears drip onto my uniform. I key the mic. Dispatch. Fox here. Get someone out here. Now. Static. Nothing. The radio is dead again. Above me, floorboards creak. Something heavy thuds just above the ceiling. I squint upward at the hole where plaster fell away. Darkness beyond. I know there's someone above. Something. My breath hitches. I brace both hands on the floor and push up, jarring my shoulder. I head for the stairs I hadn't noticed before, a steep wooden flight leading to the attic. Each step groans like a funeral dirge. Dust motes float in the beam. At the top, a low ceiling slants down. I flash the light across empty trunks, broken toys, a rocking horse missing a leg. The footfalls above me pause. I hold my breath. A single boot print appears on the attic floor, fresh, deep. It leads to a corner shrouded in darkness. I descend on my belly, flashlight extended. The beam settles on a small figure crouched in the gloom. A girl, maybe 8 or 9, hair tangled, dress filthy, eyes wide and black as pitch. She smiles. I inhale, pain tearing through my shoulder. Who are you? I croak. She tilts her head. They told me you'd come back. They said you'd help. I swallow, grit in my teeth. Help? With what? She stands, boots returning to her feet. She's the source of the barefoot prints, the laughter on the radio. She steps out of the corner into the light. For a moment, I think she's real. Then her hand passes through my flashlight beam, translucent, flickering like a dying bulb. I let out a strangled scream, scrambling backward. My shoulder catches on a beam, tearing fabric. I tumble down the stairs, pistol clattering. I slam the door behind me, locking it. My heart pounds so hard it feels like it will break my ribs. I press my back against the wood, breath heaving. Outside, wind rattles the window panes. I glance down the hall, empty. The chandelier in the main room swings, though no breeze touches it. Shadows dance. I crawl to the front door and try the knob, locked. They've locked me in again. I pound the door, knuckles raw. Let me out, my voice cracks. No answer. Only that soft, echoing voice from above. They need you, Deputy Fox. I slump to the floor, tears spilling freely. I wipe them with the sleeve of my uniform. A lifetime of law enforcement, of keeping order, of protecting people. I am completely powerless in this house. The chandelier's click-clack continues. My flashlight lies 50 feet away, beam pointing at the ceiling. And I realize with a clarity that freezes my blood. I am alone. Completely, utterly alone. Trapped by something that doesn't need logic or warrants. Something that lives in dust and shadows and feeds on fear. I slide against the door until my knees hit the wood. My shoulder burns, my ears ring. My eyes are dry and burning. The voice drifts down. You can't leave. Not now. Silence. Then the door handle rattles slowly, deliberately, as if turned by an invisible hand. I clamp my eyes shut. I squeeze my fists until my nails dig into my palms. I whisper to the empty house, I am tired. The handle stops. Footsteps retreat upstairs, slow and steady. The chandelier stops swinging. I open my eyes. Darkness fills the room, blacker than ever. No light, no voice, no sound but my ragged breath. I press my forehead to the door. I stare down the hallway into blackness. I wonder if anyone will ever hear my call, or if this place will swallow me whole, like it has swallowed every trace of logic. I don't know how long I sat there with my forehead against that locked door, chest heaving, every muscle trembling like a wind-blown branch. Time lost meaning. The chandelier's remnant click-clack had faded into nothing, as if whatever had been moving in this place retreated, or decided its game had gone far enough. The only reality was the oppressive darkness of the Miller house, and my own ragged breath echoing against splintered wood. Eventually, I peeled myself from the door and slid down the hall, each step an effort against the weight pressing on my shoulders. My shoulder throbbed fiercely, a sharp reminder of flesh torn against rough lumber. I paused halfway, pressing my palm against the wound through my uniform. The pain was searing, but it grounded me. The house might toy with shadows, voices, and vanishing footprints, but it couldn't steal the blood coursing through my veins. I reached the threshold of the main room. My flashlight lay on the floor, beam pointed at the ceiling like a plea for rescue. Boots and jeans were no longer in neat piles. Now they lay tumbled across the dusty floor, the boots turned over, soles up, as if cast aside in disgust. The rocking chair had righted itself and slowly creaked back and forth, though no wind stirred the air. The oil lamp sat upright on the mantel, unlit and stubborn, sealed in years of blackened soot. I clicked on my tactical light and swept it around. Nothing moved. No flicker of furtive presence, no echo of child's laughter. Only dust drifting through the beam like prison bars of stale air. I knelt, gun in one hand, light in the other, and picked up one of the boots. It was size 10, same as mine, same brand too. I slipped it onto my off shoulder to check the fit. It balanced there, heavy and empty. I shivered. I pocketed the boot and rose. My eyes drew to the far corner of the room where the old calendar hung. Last time I saw it, the month was January 2012. Today's date could be anything. I stepped closer. The pages had been torn away, only the bare backing remained, and someone had scratched a series of tally marks into the cardboard. 67, maybe 70. The scratches were fresh, filled with a black residue that smeared onto my glove when I touched it. I counted the marks twice. Then I realized each group of 5 had been crossed out, leaving just 2 solitary scratches at the end. 2 days since last contact. 2 nights since the child's laughter on the radio. My stomach knotted. I flicked the light toward the hallway. Footprints had returned. Bare soles, size small, smudged lightly in the dusty carpet. They led from the main room into the next bedroom, where the dollhouse lay. I hadn't noticed it before, buried under decades of dust and spiderwebs. Now it sat center stage, doors ajar, furniture tipped over inside. I crossed the floor, careful not to disturb the prints, and peered into the dollhouse. A miniature figure, no taller than 6 inches, stood upright in the entryway, head cocked to one side. It wore a pale dress, its hair carved into tangled strands. The paint on its face was faded, but the eyes, tiny black beads, still glinted with a lifelike sheen. I touched the doll's outstretched arm. It felt cold, not plastic, but something else entirely. Porcelain, brittle. A small crack crawled down its back, filled with the same black residue from the calendar. My pulse hammered. I lifted the doll and turned it in the beam. A name was carved across its chest in exquisite, childlike letters. Evelyn. No last name, no date, just Evelyn. I swallowed hard and set the doll into my vest's front pocket. Whoever, or whatever, inhabited this house associated with a child named Evelyn. I didn't know her story, but I knew she was more than a voice on my radio. She was the key. The hallway beckoned. I tightened my gun hand and moved forward, bullet by bullet clicking in my mind. The next door I passed was cracked again. Like every other room, it had opened and closed itself while I wandered elsewhere. Inside was a study. Desk, papers, a battered journal whose cover read 1947. I swept the light over the desk. An open book lay atop it, pages filled with handwriting so fine I needed to crouch. I read the first line. They say the pioneers built this land. I say they built this house. Underneath, a sketch of a symmetrical farmhouse, identical to Miller's place, with tally marks beneath it. 7. I flipped pages, skipped pages, found another entry. When she came, the walls wept. Beneath that, only a smudge of ragged ink. My eyes burned. The journal had to be decades old, yet its final entries were fresh enough the ink gleamed. I shut it and shoved it in my bag. The ledger would explain maybe nothing and everything. This house had a history of unspeakable sorrow reaching back to the pioneers. It had claimed children before, like Evelyn, I guessed, and countless others. I rose and approached a brass doorknob at the far end, slightly warmer than the others, as if heat seeped from behind. I placed my palm there. A faint vibration throbbed against my skin. My teeth ground. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The room was large, like a parlor or living room, though time had stripped it bare. A grand piano stood against the back wall, lid closed, keys hidden. Sheet music strewn across the floor. One page caught my attention. A single lyric handwritten in spidery script. Sing, Evelyn, sing for us. Sing until your voice is dust. Moonlight guides your lonely cry, we will hear, though we cannot lie. I stumbled back, chest tightening. The words twisted into my skin. I nearly dropped my gun. If that piano had a player, I wouldn't wait to find out. This was deeper than a missing person scare. This was a house alive with memory and grief. I swung the light onto the wall above the piano. A portrait hung there, face obscured by centuries of dust and soot. I wiped the glass with my gloved thumb. Beneath the grime, a woman's face stared out. Harsh features, stern expression, hair piled high in period style. A nameplate under the frame read, Mrs. Abigail Pierce, 1872 to 1934. Her eyes, behind the smear, seemed to follow me. Two thin lines under each eye curled downward like tear tracks. I shuddered. A single note sounded then, low and resonant, like a piano key pressed in some other room. My flashlight beam swung around wildly, empty space. But the note lingered, a hollow echo that resonated through the floorboards. I swallowed my fear and turned back to the portrait. pinprick of paint near the corner of the frame. I touched it. Fresh? No, old, but smeared, as though someone's fingertip had traced through dust recently, pointing toward a hidden seam in the wall. I pulled my knife and pried at the seam. The plaster crumbled and a narrow slot appeared, just wide enough to slip the tip of a draw knife. From inside, a faint glow pulsed, bluish, spectral. I hesitated only a moment before inserting my knife and prying. The panel gave way, revealing a shallow niche. Inside lay a tarnished music box, winding key intact. I lifted it out on instinct, turned the key. The lid creaked as it opened. A delicate music played, tinny and distant, like wind through hollow reeds. Clair de Lune, I thought. No, not Debussy. Something simpler, a lullaby in a minor key that tugged at my heart. I felt tears unbidden as it spun, the melody echoing through the room. The glow from the niche spread, illuminating the faces painted on the walls. Hundreds of tiny portraits etched in the wood, each scratched with lines like tally marks. Children's faces, mournful, eyes hollow, lips parted as if crying out. The music box slowed and stopped. The room turned silent. The glow flickered and died. All that remained was the metallic hiss of regret. I folded the music box into my bag and backed away, shoulders slumped under a weight I could not name. In the hallway, the boots lay reversed, soles up, their owner gone. I hefted my flashlight and gun and pressed on. The final door waited, the one I had yet to open, the one at the end of the hall that led downstairs to the cellar. The house was full of messages, of sorrow, of Evelyn and Abigail and unknown, nameless hearts lost to time. But maybe beneath the ground lay the source. Something old, something cruel, something that had tethered these spirits to this place. My breath hissed. I reached for the knob. Another vibration throbbed through my palm, faster this time, like a heartbeat. I froze. Then slowly, I turned the knob and pushed. The cellar stairway yawned downward, lit by a single bare bulb swinging from a frayed cord. The air was cold, so cold it burned my lungs with each inhale. Dust motes danced in the circle of light, swirling down into the darkness. I switched to my tactical light. It barely pierced the gloom beyond the bulb's halo. My footsteps echoed as I descended, each creak of wood a threat. At the bottom, the beam found a stone floor slick with moisture. Water dripped from unseen pipes, plinking into rusty buckets below. Chains hung from the ceiling, empty shackles rattling in a phantom breeze. The walls were etched with carvings, names and dates, tally marks scored into the stone. Evelyn Pierce, 1890. Abigail Pierce, 1934. Dozens more. It was a ledger of the lost. And at the center, on a stone plinth, lay a small cot. On it, wrapped in tattered linens, something moved, a slow, rhythmic rise and fall. I swallowed thickly, chest constricting. I approached, gun trained, light unwavering. The bundle stirred. I knelt, heart pounding so loud I feared it would echo into eternity. My light trembled across the form. Sheets shifted, revealing a small figure, a child, sleeping or dead, eyes closed, cheeks pale. A girl, no more than 9 or 10, dark, tangled hair framing her face. I whispered, "Evelyn?" Her eyes snapped open, lidless black pools reflecting the light. A scream caught in my throat as she sat up, thin arms winding around her knees. She looked at me with innocence and infinite sorrow. Her mouth opened and she sang, voice clear and cold. She stared at me as though pleading and accusing. I lowered my weapon, tears streaming. "I'm here," I choked out. "I'm here." She tilted her head, eyes dark. "They won't let me leave." Her voice cracked. They said I belong. Behind me, the bulb flickered, chains clanged, the bolting trembled. I scrambled back, turning the corner of the plinth to find a ladder leading further down into blackness. I felt its pull, like a siren's song. But Evelyn remained, perched on her cot, expression hollow. She raised one pale hand. "Finish the tally," she whispered. "Make us whole again." I stood, horror tightening my stomach. The ladder beckoned, promising answers, or oblivion. I knew that if I climbed, I might never return. Yet I felt compelled. I felt needed. My mind raced. I thought of dispatch, of backup that would never come. I thought of the radio's static laughter, the mirror's shape, Abigail's portrait, the doll in my pocket. I thought of my own empty reflection, and I realized the house was feeding off loss, binding souls here, tallying them in its walls. Evelyn's eyes pierced mine. The ladder rope squealed as if someone had just climbed down. The darkness below seemed alive, pulsing. I swallowed. My finger tightened on the trigger, but I couldn't shoot her. She was a child, a victim. I cleared my throat, voice trembling. "I'm not going. Without you." I flicked the beam down the ladder, peering into blackness. She slipped off the cot and floated toward me, barefoot, her dress shimmering. She held out her hand. I hesitated. My duty, my instinct, my fear warred within me. The chains rattled again, a hollow laugh like metal on stone. I took a step forward, then another, until I stood before her, heart torn between salvation and damnation. She offered her hand in silence. I reached out. My glove brushed her wrist, icy cold, but legitimate. She smiled, a sad curve. I looked past her to the dripping chains, the ledger of names, the narrow ladder descending into oblivion, and I realized I was exactly where I needed to be, bound, like her, by promises of deliverance or destruction. I clasped her hand and took the first step onto the bottom rung of the ladder, feeling the pull of darkness wrap around me. The house shuddered, as if awakened from slumber. The bulb above me snapped off, plunging us into blackness. Evelyn's breath tickled my ear as we descended. We went down into silence, together, into the depths of the Miller house's ancient wound, where tally marks awaited the final slash. And in that moment my light died, and the darkness welcomed me home. I plunge into the black, every sense bristling. Cold air wraps around me like wet cloth. My hand grips Evelyn's as we descend, the ladder's rungs slick with condensation. Each step creaks under our weight, echoing through the shaft until it feels as though the sound is not mine, but the house's groan of delight. The darkness is absolute. No stray beam from my flashlight can penetrate more than a few inches ahead. Yet I sense the walls pressing in, ancient stone carved to funnel all light into a single vanishing point below. Below us, I hear a hollow drip, water pooling in unseen crevices. The smell shifts, musk and rot, mixed with something sweeter, like decaying flowers. Behind me, Evelyn's grip loosens, her small hand drifts downward. I tighten my own. We reach a landing, a worn timber platform cantilevered against the cold stone. I step off the ladder, boots muffled by damp wood. She follows, silent as a wraith, her eyes adjusted to the gloom. I click my tactical light. It sputters to life, illuminating an elliptical chamber barely larger than the landing itself. The walls curve inward, narrowing overhead into a vaulted ceiling blackened by age. The floor is flagged stone, cracked and uneven, with dark rivulets of moisture tracing lines between the monuments of shadow. Across the far wall, a series of niches, 4 deep recesses carved into the stone, hold objects half buried in silt. A child's wooden rocking horse, broken in two, a tarnished brass lantern with shattered glass, a length of frayed rope, and at the far right, a body, hunched over, draped in filthy cloth. I swallow the ache in my throat. The figure moves, a twitch of shoulder. I step forward, flashlight aimed. Evelyn stays behind me until I catch her gaze. She nods once, a muted permission. I inch closer to the body. The cloth shifts. A hand emerges, skeletal, fingers curled around an empty tin cup. The head rolls slightly, revealing skin stretched tight over bone, eyes sunk. My flashlight beam dances across its cheekbones. The face cracks a brittle grin. I stagger back, heart pounding. Evelyn steps beside me. Her voice is a distant hush. They brought me here once. I glance at her, but her gaze is fixed on the decayed form. I clear my throat, voice catching. Who is that? No answer, only the drip of unseen water and the shifting echoes of my boots. I draw my gun, training the muzzle on the body. Stay here, I whisper to Evelyn, though I know she cannot truly stay. Her form seems as ephemeral as smoke. I step closer, kneel, and brush dusty cloth aside. The face beneath is familiar. I wrench sharply upright. It's Mrs. Pierce, the portrait in the parlor. The woman from 1872 to 1934. Her hair gray and matted, eyes empty sockets. The tin cup in her bony hand bears a carved initial. A P, fear, curls cold in my gut. I stand, torchlight trembling. Evelyn's whisper floats. She sang to me, taught me the lullaby. My head jerks toward her. She looks small against the cavern's breadth, her dress hanging in tatters. She sings for us, Evelyn says, voice flat. She never left. Behind me, the niches jostle in darkness, each holding its own fragment of memory. I turn to inspect one, the brass lantern. I lift it into the light, breath catching. Inside, a faded photograph. A pioneer family on the farmhouse porch. 5 faces, 2 children. One child's face is scratched out. I press my thumb, black residue. The photo tears, dust motes drifting. I jam the lantern into my bag, then turn to the rope. It lies coiled, thick and heavy. I lift it, the weight slackens. A chill dances up my spine as I realize its looped end bears frayed edges, as if once a noose. I shake off nausea, place it back. Last niche, the rocking horse, child-sized, a single chipped hoof. I cradle it, the wood damp and splintered under my glove. Painted eyes long since faded. On its flank, etched letters, E. Evelyn steps beside me, voice soft. That was mine. I close my eyes. She speaks again. They played games, counted days, took turns, until only I remained. I swallow against bile. Why are you here? She inclines her head toward the latch of the far iron door set into the stone wall, half concealed by shadow. To finish the tally. My pulse spikes. Beyond that door lies the heart of the house's sorrow. I know because I've heard it in every whisper, the hollow laughter, the sobbing lullaby, the crackle of the radio. I sheath my gun, thick fingers trembling. Evelyn extends her hand again. I take it. She glides toward the iron door. Her bare feet make no sound. I follow, breath misting in the frigid air. The door is ancient. Iron bands rusted, hinges groaning. My hand hunts for a mechanism. A hidden latch clicks under my fingers. The door swings inward. We step through into a semicircular chamber lit by phosphorescent lichen clinging to the walls. The glow is eerie green, illuminating a dais at the center. An altar of stone, its surface worn smooth. On the altar sit objects arranged like relics. A music box I recognize. The doll Evelyn. Mrs. Pierce's portrait miniature in tarnished frame, and a battered sheriff's badge, my badge, clipped to the edge. I feel my breath hitch. Evelyn points to the badge. You promised to help. I approach the dais. The music box sits open. I remembered locking it away. The doll lies next to it, porcelain face cracked. I lift my badge. The metal is cold, too heavy for my pocket. I place it on the altar. The objects shift. The doll tips forward. The portrait miniature slides across the stone, landing face down. A low humming vibrates through the chamber. A chorus of voices, distant and sorrowful. The lichen's glow pulses in time. I realize tally marks scrawled on the altar's base. 82, then crossed out lines, and 3 fresh marks afterwards. Evelyn's whisper licks at the edge of my mind. One more. My chest tightens. I look at Evelyn. She stands still, head bowed. What? What do you need? I stammer. The humming intensifies. The doll's head turns, eyes meeting mine. I feel tears burn as guilt and terror unravel me. The lichen flare bright, casting every cracked face on the walls into harsh relief. Faces of the lost, the counted, the damned. Evelyn's voice breaks the hum. You must finish the tally. She places my badge on the final scratch. The altar trembles, stone dust drifting like ash. I wrench my hand away, the badge falls. But the tally mark is complete, the last scratch deep and fresh. The hut echoes with a shuddering cry, a child's wail and an aged woman's lament intertwined. The dais splits along a seam, sliding aside to reveal a hidden pit. Endless black yawns below, laced with red veins of earth. The voices swell, the lichen sputters. I step back, flashlight grazing the pit's edge. The air reverberates with a single word. Join us. Evelyn reaches for my hand. My pistol lies in my pocket, useless here. I stare into the abyss. Behind me, the chamber's exit seals with grinding stone. I whirl, raise my voice. No! But the walls close in. My flashlight flickers. Once, twice, then darkness swallows the light. I feel a hand brush mine, Evelyn's, guiding me forward. I stumble to the dais, heart hammering. The ground trembles as stones slide into place, trapping me with the altar and the relics of the lost. The voices become a roar. Finish the tally! Finish the tally! I look at Evelyn, her face serene, eyes black as night. She tilts her head. We're waiting. And in that moment, the pit's darkness surges upward, a living tide hungry for my fear, my life, my soul. I take the first step toward the abyss. I raise my flashlight, but the beam shatters against the inky black. The world went silent the moment gravity broke beneath me. There was no scream, only the echo of my own heartbeat pounding in my skull as I slipped into the void. Cold air sucked at my lungs, carrying with it the distant, ragged chorus of children's voices, now 1,000 times louder. A cacophony of lost hope and rancid lullabies that throttled my courage. Evelyn's hand slipped free. I tumbled past her into the pit. I fell through blackness so thick it was like drowning in ink. The lichen's glow vanished, replaced by a phosphorescent haze that pulsed against unseen walls. My flashlight clattered from my grasp, its last sputter of light dancing against dripping stone before dying. I landed on something solid, stone, wet and slick, and rolled, teeth clattering, shoulders screaming in protest. I spat blood and grit, groping for my gun, only to feel the damp chain of my belt drag against my legs, snagging on protruding rock. Hands, cold, skeletal, brushed my ankle. I froze as dozens of them closed around me, dragging me deeper. The voices roared in triumph. Welcome home! My mind screamed to fight, to claw back up the shaft, but my limbs felt leaden, every movement an agony of abrasion and ice. I kicked out blindly, boots contacting nothing but air. The grip tightened. Suddenly, the pit opened onto a wider cavern, its ceiling lost in shadow. A ring of stone pillars carved with faded tally marks rose around me like silent sentinels. At the center, a shallow pool of black water reflected an unseen moon. The skeletal hands released me, and I fell face first into the muck. It reeked of rot and old tears. I lay there, gasping, as the hands retreated, gathering at the edges, spectral forms half buried in the mire. A lone figure stepped forward, Mrs. Abigail Pierce, half her face crumbled to bone, eyes glowing with something like peace. Evelyn stood behind her, small and resolute, the music box clutched to her chest. Abigail reached out, skeletal fingers brushing the water's surface. The pool rippled, revealing names scrawled on the cavern floor, victims of the house's ancient hunger. Evelyn Pierce, Abigail Pierce, dozens more, and at the bottom my own name carved fresh, blood red against gray stone. Abigail's hollow grin stretched impossibly across her skull. "You finished what we couldn't," she rasped. "You joined the tally." The voices crescendoed into a single word. "Now." Evelyn lowered the music box and pressed the winding key. The lid clicked shut, and the lullaby died. In that final silence, I felt a jab beneath my ribs. Too many ribs. I looked down, new tally marks carved across my uniform shirt, jagged lines glowing faintly in the darkness. I stumbled backward, blade-sharp panic flaring. Abigail raised a bony hand. "Rest now," she whispered. "Stay with us." Evelyn extended her pale hand once more. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs refused. The air itself held me captive, thick with sorrow and regret. I glanced at the cavern's edge. No ladder, no shaft, only endless black. Behind me, the pillar's shadows seemed to move, closing in. Light flickered one last time as the lichen pulsed, then died. My last thought was of my cruiser's headlights cutting through dust, of my family's faces I would never see again, of my own reflection vanishing in a broken mirror. Then the darkness swallowed me whole, and the void counted its final mark. I'm Deputy Cole Harrington. I've been running these lonely roads for 20 years, and I never thought I'd still be haunted by one night. It was late spring, the kind of night when the air is almost warm, but there's still that bite along the ridge where the mesquite meets the sky. I'd just cleared Wilbarger County Dispatch and was rolling south on County Road 105, heading back toward my beat outside Olney. My headlights cut a tunnel through the dark, and the CB sat silent beside me. No chatter, no call for help, just the hum of the engine and the whisper of gravel crunching under my tires. The sky was so wide it felt like being swallowed. I stopped at the crossroads by the old pump jacks, rusted steel skeletons rising like sentinels over a dusty plain. I always paused there, even when nothing was on the docket. That night I parked off to the side, killed the engine, and listened. The wind rattled the panels, made them groan like a wounded animal. I reached over, flipped the dome light on for a second, just enough to trace a circle of yellow on the dusty windshield, and felt that familiar hollow settle in my chest. That's when I heard it. A soft clatter, like metal tapping metal, coming from the east field. I grabbed my flashlight, shouldered my shotgun, and stepped out. The night air hit me, dry as old bones. My boots kicked up grit as I crossed the cracked asphalt, and I heard a dog bark somewhere just beyond the station house, far enough that I couldn't see the source. Didn't feel right. I flicked on the beam and swept left to right. The pump jack stood silent, but the beam caught something on the ground. A single small boot, caked in red dust, leather cracked and worn. I crouched, my heart hammered. That boot belonged to no prospector I'd ever seen. It was too small, too childlike. I knew that shape, that scuff pattern. 2 years ago, a little girl named Marisol Vega vanished from near here. 7 years old, walked 2 blocks from her grandmother's porch to the market, never made it back. The case went cold in 6 months. For a while, local news ran her photo, then nothing. I'd scraped my knuckles on that investigation, poking at every lead until my fingers bled. Nothing but dead ends and empty promises. I shoved the boot into an evidence bag, my hand shaking so bad I could barely seal it. I keyed the mic. "Will Barger, this is Harrington. I've got a possible hit on Vega case. Requesting units to 105 and 79 Junction." My voice felt flat, distant, like someone else was talking. Dispatch crackled back a copy, then silence. I moved eastward, sweeping the beam across cracked soil and scattered scrubs until I came to a stretch of broken fence line. The gate sagged on its hinges. Fresh footprints led through the rusted bars, heading toward the old Sinclair station. Its sign, half dark, neon green, flickering in strobe bursts. My cruiser's taillights glowed red behind me, painting the dirt road in stoplight hue. I followed the prints. The ground here was mixed dirt and asphalt, and I could see tire tracks. 2 sets, side by side, like someone walked along the edge of a vehicle's passage. But the tracks disappeared just before the station's weathered pump island. No fresh oil, no broken glass. Nothing to explain how they got there. I crept around the canopy, every nerve screaming. My flashlight caught the pump's levers. One was hanging loose, like someone had yanked it open. I reached out and set it right, and my glove brushed a smear of red across the handle. I froze. Blood. Fresh. There wasn't any person to be seen. I called it in. "This is Harrington. Bleeding at pump station. ETA backup 10 mics out." My voice left my throat raw, but I forced it through. I circled to the back of the station. The service door stood cracked just a few inches. I shone my light in. Inside was darkness so thick it felt alive. A broken radio and a fallen chair lay on the filthy floor. My light glanced off something on the counter. Papers scattered, but one sheet stuck out. A child's drawing. Crayon scribbles of stick figures under a big star. At the bottom, in sloppy letters, "Marisol is here." My guts twisted. I kicked the door open. It slammed against the wall, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. I swept the flashlight across the room. Empty shelves, a toppled display rack, and in the far corner, a metal ladder leading to a trapdoor partially open. There was no business having a trapdoor here. The station had been closed 10 years. I radioed for Sarge and the CSI team. I didn't touch anything beyond sealing the door. I set up perimeter lights and waited. For 2 hours, I watched icy stars across the sky, but nobody came out. The trapdoor sagged like a mouth waiting to swallow. I didn't sleep. I sat in the cruiser, gun across my lap, replaying that drawing in my mind. The way the crayon lines had traced Marisol's stick body with her arms raised skyward, pleading. By dawn, drones and dogs and half the county showed up. We pried the trapdoor open and took turns shining lights down into blackness. The ladder dropped into a passage hewn from shale. I went first because I felt like I deserved the damn thing. The walls squeezed in, damp and trembling. My breath came hard in my chest. At the bottom, the tunnel opened into a low-ceiling chamber, lit by a dim bulb swinging on a frayed wire. The floor was packed earth, and in the center a circle of stones. And at the stones, a small perfume bottle, a ribbon, a hair bow, Marisol's translucent locket suspended from a nail driven into the wall. Nobody thought to question how a bulb and that nail stayed corroded free underground. We bagged the items. Marisol's locket had a picture of her in a frilly dress. Her grin was wide, hopeful. The plate read 2018, 2 years after she disappeared. We had no explanation. We sealed the trap door. Administrators funded repairs and called it a freak vandalism. I refused to talk. I said nothing. They closed the case. But on nights I drive past that station, I still hear the drip of water, the distant scrape of something moving behind rocks. I see that swaying bulb in my mind. I feel Marisol's eyes in the dark. And when I rest my hand on my radio, I swear I can hear her voice. "Deputy, help me." The tunnel's air was thick with damp and the smell of rot. My flashlight slit through the darkness but barely reached past my outstretched arm. I took a steadying breath, listened for anything beyond my own ragged pulse. The drone of distant voices above faded as the steel trapdoor clanged shut behind me. I was alone in that underground room, alone with the stones and the relics we'd recovered. Marisol's locket, the perfume bottle, a tiny ribbon fraying at its edges. I kicked at the dirt floor, dislodging loose gravel that skittered into the shadows. The beam of my light settled on the chamber wall, where someone had carved symbols, looping lines that ended in arrowheads, circles crossed by slashes. Whatever language it was, it felt like a map scrawled by hands that wanted to guide and trap. I traced the carvings with my gloved fingertip, heart thumping so hard I thought the echo might shake the wires holding up that lone bulb. I radioed my sergeant's call sign, but the hatch above was too thick, only dead air. I forced the radio back into my coat pocket and forced myself to move. The tunnel beyond the stone circle stretched into the dark, low-ceilinged, slick with moisture. I could feel the walls lean inward, like they were closing in on me. Steady hands, I told myself. 20 years on the force, I could handle a little spelunking. I edged forward, every footstep sending tremors through my boots. The smell changed. Gone was the rotten damp. Now it was copper undertones like blood, mixed with something acrid I couldn't name. My breath caught. I cocked my head. Somewhere ahead, something moved. A scuff or a whisper of cloth against stone. It was hard to tell. Still, I shouldn't have come down here alone. I kicked at the radio in my pocket, hoping for a crackle from above. Nothing. I was cut off. The tunnel bent left, and the light from the chamber receded. I kept going, letting muscle memory guide my steps. Torch in one hand, my free hand grazing the wall for support. The floor dipped slightly. Water pooled at my boots, cold as ice. I wondered if a rescue team would follow my tracks or if they'd assume I'd never return. That thought gnawed at me. God, what if no one knew I was here? I rounded a corner and almost swallowed my tongue. A second chamber opened before me, larger, with rocky benches built into the walls, like seats in some subterranean amphitheater. On the center bench sat a wooden crate, half-rotted but intact enough to keep its shape. I lifted the lid with a gloved hand. Inside were objects arranged with disturbing precision. A cracked porcelain doll's head, one glass eye missing. A child's cotton dress, yellowed and torn. A journal bound in leather, its pages dog-eared and stained. I set the crate on the ground and reached for the journal. My fingers fumbled with the clasp. When I opened it, the first page was blank except for 2 words scrawled in a trembling hand. They wait. The next pages held entries, dates and short notes written hastily. March 12, 2019. Found the door beneath the station. It calls to me. I feel safe there. April 2nd, 2019. They come sometimes. I don't know who they are. They speak in whispers. April 15th, 2019. I tried to leave. The walls bleed when I go. I must stay. My breath caught again. The entries were recent. Someone had lived down here. Someone who hadn't escaped. I turned the page. Smudged words, faded. May 7th, 2019. They showed me the light. Blue. Pulsing. I can't look away. May 8th, 2019. The voices tell me secrets. I must tell them what I see. May 9th, 2019. Tomorrow they come for me. The last entry was a smear of ink, as if the writer's hand had convulsed. I slammed the journal shut and backed away. The crate thudded against the stone bench. Panic rose in my chest. I fumbled for my radio again. Nothing. The bolt of cold realization hit. If someone signed that journal on May 9th, 2 weeks ago, they could still be down here. I aimed my light into the corridor beyond the benches. The walls glistened wet and the tunnel narrowed. At the far end, the beam caught movement, a shape, hunched, shaking like a withered tree. It stood at the threshold half in shadow. A child? An adult twisted by fear? I swallowed. "Help me," I whispered, but the voice seemed to come from the walls. I took a step forward and the shape retreated deeper. My heart kicked into overdrive. That voice again, so quiet it could have been in my head. "Deputy?" I swallowed and called out, "Marisol, is that you?" The tunnel stretched silent in reply. My legs shook, but I forced myself onward. Every fiber screamed to turn back, but I needed answers. For her, for me. The passage feinted left and then bent right, and suddenly the ground opened into a cavern as tall as a barn. Stalactites dripped from the ceiling. In the center, under a skylight of cracked rock where moonlight broke through, lay a circle of chairs, rusted iron, shaped like flowers, surrounding a shallow pool of water that reflected the moon's shards. The air was colder here, almost freezing. My beam scanned the seats. Names etched into the iron. Marisol, Elena, Javier, Carlos, and others. Each name was scratched in a childish scrawl, but all dated within the same spring. I knelt by the pool's edge. The water's surface looked oily, distorted. I touched it with a gloved finger, ice cold. The water rippled, but when the light shifted, I thought I saw a face beneath. Tiny, pale, eyes wide. I jerked back, nearly toppling into the pool. A voice rang out, loud and clear, echoing against stone. "Stay!" I jumped to my feet, flashlight beam swinging. The walls echoed with whispers, words I couldn't understand but felt in my bones. My shotgun felt heavy in my arms. I backed toward the tunnel, determined to leave. The voice came again, a chorus now, overlapping. "Stay, tell us, share." I broke into a run. My boots slipped on slick stone as I fled the chamber, chest heaving, mind screaming. Behind me, I heard a heavy footstep. Or was it water dripping from above? My light flickered. I raced down the corridor, not daring to look back, afraid of what might chase me. The tunnel narrowed again, walls scraping my shoulders. My flashlight caught a last glimpse of the stones carved with that map-like pattern. I pushed through, bursting into the amphitheater where the crate and journal lay. The chairs and the pool were gone, replaced by a simple circle of stones as before. The faint blue glow of Marisol's locket hung from the wall, pulsing once. I grabbed it and bolted up the ladder. The hatch gave way beneath my weight, and I shot out into dawn's gray light, stumbling as the trapdoor swung open above me. I gasped in lungfuls of cold morning. CSI swarmed around, light stands and cameras whirring. They shouted, but I barely heard them. I held the locket tight and crawled out, heart pounding like a war drum. They asked me questions, protocol, evidence, chain of custody. I answered in a monotone. They bagged the crate and journal, lifted the trapdoor and sealed the ladder. They called it a ruin, a curiosity, no mention of tunnels further in, no mention of children's names carved in iron. just a cleanup. I handed Marisol's locket to the lieutenant and said, "That belongs to her family now." He nodded, eyes distant. Nobody asked how I got it back. Nobody asked why the water had a movement of its own. They chalked the journal up to vandalism, the crate to dingy relics. But as I climbed back in my cruiser, the sun rising over cracked pavement, I heard that voice again, soft over the CB. "Thank you. Stay with us." I shut the radio off and drove away, eyes on the horizon. The station sign flickered behind me, its green dinosaur blinking off and on. In my pocket, Marisol's locket pulsed once, then dimmed. I glanced at the sky, knowing the tunnel waited below, with a chorus of voices still whispering my name, still wanting me to stay. And I realized the case was nowhere near closed. Maybe it never would be. I woke up the next morning before the sun, eyes burning from too little sleep. My cruiser sat in the yard, engine still warm from when I'd left it running after emerging from that tunnel. I rubbed a hand across my face and tried to shake off the crawl of dread in my bones, but it stuck like tar. I snapped the locket open, studied Marisol's smile under the glass. That grin was innocent, untouched by the dark. I tucked it back in my breast pocket and walked inside. The station was quiet, only the hum of the fluorescent lights in the bullpen and the distant click of someone typing on an old desktop. I poured black coffee that tasted like bitterness and regret, then sat at my desk stacked with case files. Everything on my docket that morning felt trivial. Speeding tickets, noise complaints, a stray dog. But under it all simmered the station's silent omission. The Vega file had disappeared. I searched the cabinet, rifled through backup drives. It was gone. No digital record, no paper trail, like it never existed. Lieutenant Rivera stopped by, looked me over. His face was tight, unreadable. "You okay, Harrington?" he asked. I nodded and risked a glance at his eyes. He ducked his head and walked on. I didn't trust the excuses that would follow. Budget cuts, clerical error, but I swallowed my questions. I had a day's worth of beats to cover, and I needed to keep my head down long enough to think. I spent the afternoon retracing my steps to the Sinclair station. The gravel road leading in looked the same under parching sun as it did under moonlight, but the shadows were shorter. I parked off to the side again, killed the engine, and sat in the driver's seat. The sign ahead blinked on and off, that green dinosaur flickering like it was alive. I pulled out my phone and absently scrolled through old photos, evidence photos I'd taken last week. The boot in dust, the pump levers smeared in blood, the child's drawing on the counter. Each image seemed to call out, demanding answers. I left the cruiser and walked around the canopy, picked at the loose gravel, looked for fresh marks in the dirt. Nothing new. I circled to the back door. No sign I'd been there in daylight. I tried the handle, locked. I jiggled it, heard the deadbolt click. I'd let it hang open last time. Someone had locked it behind me. A cold trickle ran down my spine. I stepped back. My radio crackled to life. A traffic stop down by Pecos Road. I answered, voice steady, and spent the next hour writing a ticket for expired registration. By the time I cleared, the sky had turned slate gray with gathering clouds. I thought about heading home early, but something wouldn't let me leave. That tunnel, that chamber, the names carved in iron, they circled in my head, calling me back. I called dispatch. "Wilbarger, this is Harrington. I'm going to stake out the Sinclair station tonight. If I don't check in by midnight, send someone." Dispatch replied, "Copy that," and I heard an uneasy pause before they keyed off. I rigged my cruiser with floodlights on stands borrowed from CSI. I parked 200 yards out, engine off, radio muted except for the emergency channel. I sat with my back to the door and watched the station under cold light. The clouds overhead scudded fast, erasing the moon, then unveiling it in cycles. Inside the station, the neon sign blinked through the glass windows. I kept my shotgun across my lap, finger resting on the trigger guard. Hours passed. The wind picked up, rattling the lights overhead like rattlesnakes on tin. I sipped lukewarm coffee and thought about chasing ghosts, how each case left an itch in my brain. I thought about that shape I'd glimpsed in the tunnel, the journal entries, the voices whispering. My radio crackled suddenly, a code going out, but not from me, a private channel. I flipped to it, static, then a faint voice. Here, stay, forever. The sound crackled off. I froze. The voice wasn't on our frequencies, it wasn't human. I grabbed the binoculars and swept the station windows. No movement beyond empty shelves. Then I felt a tickle at the base of my skull, like someone's breath on the back of my neck. I spun the cruiser's dome light on, illuminating the cab. Nothing. Every hair on my arm stood on end. I reached into my pocket and touched the locket. It was warm in my hand. I squeezed it. Behind me, a low groan echoed through the night. Not mechanical, more like metal under stress. I jumped down, shot in hand, and crept toward the station side. The floodlights cast my shadow long and thin against the dirt. The groan turned into a metallic scrape. I rounded the corner and saw it. The pump lever, slowly rocking back and forth, though no wind was blowing. A smear of fresh red around its base glowed under the light. I called out, "Show yourself." My voice sounded small. The only answer was that lever swaying. I crept closer and saw footprints in the dirt, leading behind the pumps. I followed them, flashlight beam dancing across cracked concrete. The prints stopped at a circular grate in the ground, one I hadn't noticed before. Its metal bars were bent inward like someone had climbed up. I shone my light in. Darkness and stale air. I crouched, peered down. Something small moved beneath the bars, a flash of pale skin. I backed away, heart in my throat. My hand shook so badly I fumbled to snap a picture with my phone. The flash went off, and the station lit up in a harsh white glow. The grate clanged as if something heavy bumped against it. I ran to the back door, pried it open, and slammed it behind me. Inside, I heard a soft rattle from below, like the grate was being scraped by nails. I spun toward the service hatch in the floor, the one leading to the tunnel. The cover lay flat, seams blending with the dusty linoleum. I pried at the edges with my boot. The hatch shifted. I heard a groan from beneath, the same metallic scrape. I jammed the shotgun under the lip and forced it open. A rush of cold air slammed into my face, carrying the faintest childlike sob. I dropped the hatch back shut and stood over it, chest heaving, sweat beading on my forehead. I called dispatch again. My voice was hoarse. "They're here. They know I'm here. Send someone now." But the channel was dead. Backup never came. The station lights flickered twice, then went out. I was plunged into darkness, the only glow from the neon sign outside. I pressed my back against the wall, shotgun cradled in my arms, and listened. The station grew quiet, too quiet. Then, from below the hatch, a single word echoed in my skull. "Deputy." I stifled a scream, but the sound rumbled through the floor. I ran for my cruiser, jamming the hatch shut behind me. As I peeled out onto the highway, I saw the pumps rock one last time and then freeze. The station sign blinked off and stayed dark. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out the engine. I drove until my vision blurred and headlights caught dust silhouettes in the air. Only when I crossed into Archer city limits did I dare to exhale. Now I'm back at the station, stitches in my palm from prying that hatch. The lieutenant asked what happened. I said it was a gas leak triggering the lights. They believe me, or they pretend to. But I know what lives beneath that station. Something that hunts children, that carves names and craves company. I see it in my dreams, in the tremor of my own voice over the radio. Marisol Vega's family still asks questions. I tell them nothing but lies. I carry her locket, a promise I can't keep. I'll bring her home. But I know that promise is empty. The voices follow me now, whispering from vent shafts and moonlit skies. They ask me to come back, to share their light and their secrets. Tomorrow night I'll drive out again. I'll park at the pumps and wait. My shotgun will be loaded, my boots tied tight. I'll lean on the canopy and remember Marisol's face, and I'll whisper back, "I'm here." I didn't sleep again that night. By 8 p.m., the station's hallways were emptying out for shift change. I pretended to file paperwork, but my eyes flicked to the clock every few minutes. When 10 p.m. rolled around, I signed out into my log and slipped out the back door without telling anyone. My cruiser idled under the canopy lights of Sinclair Station. Floodlights still trained on the pumps from my earlier stakeout. I killed the engine and stepped into the circle of pale light, shotgun in one hand, Marisol's locket in the other. The air was thick with anticipation, as though the night itself was holding its breath. My boots crunched on gravel littered with broken glass. I thought I heard faint scratching from inside the station. A soft scrape like fingernails on tile, so I pressed my ear to the service door. The scrape stopped. Silence. Then, from somewhere beneath the pump island, a slow, rhythmic tapping. Drip, drip, drip. It echoed in the hush. I holstered the shotgun, knelt, and shone my flashlight under the pumps. There, in the narrow space between rusted supports, water collected in a dent, but it wasn't clear. It shimmered with a weird, oily sheen. I reached in and scooped a bit into my palm. It felt slick, like motor oil, but smelled sweet, like clover, honey gone bad. I dropped it to the gravel. It pooled and ran down into a crack. The tapping paused, as though whatever was making it sucked in its breath. My hair stood on end. I snapped a photo with my phone, then pried the grate loose with my boot. The metal slid, revealing a yawning darkness beneath. Without thinking, I dropped the locket into the hole. It vanished with the echo of a distant sob. The moment the locket disappeared, a cacophony rose from below. Whispers and half-remembered voices, speaking words I could almost recognize. One voice cut through clearly, high-pitched, "Don't leave us." The voices overlapped, entreating, pleading, demanding company. My blood froze. Something in my gut tightened. I tried to slam the grate shut, but it wouldn't budge. Instead, the grate shook, as if something below was pulling at it. I yanked free, stumbled back, and fired a round into the canopy. The shot rang like thunder through the empty plane. The station's lights flickered violently, then died, leaving only the green glow of the dinosaur sign. Dust motes drifted in the beam of my flashlight. The whispering stopped. I stood alone in the dark, heart pounding, every nerve screaming. I ran for the door, locked it behind me, and circled to the driver's side. My phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from dispatch and a text from Sarge. "Where the hell are you?" I ignored it, jammed the door open, and jumped in. I pulled out onto the highway, tires kicking gravel, leaving the station to its silence and secrets. I didn't go home. Instead, I headed north toward Archer City, intent on digging into the county archives. The locket was gone, but I still had the journal photos and evidence bag with Marisol's boot. I parked outside the courthouse just after midnight and slipped in through the side door left ajar for cleaning crews. The archives room smelled of mildew and old paper. I found the Vega file cabinet, except the drawer labeled Vega Marisol was empty, like her case never existed. Frustration boiled in me. I yanked open every drawer, turning over manila folders. Hernandez, Flores, Nguyen, Johnson, stacks and stacks of missing persons files. Each was labeled open, unsolved, cold. Every single folder was there, except Marisol's. And beside it, a blank slot with fresh wood and an unblemished label holder. I slammed the drawer shut and leaned back, chest heaving. On impulse, I opened my phone's gallery and showed the archivist, the blank drawer, to a cleaning crew passing by. They shrugged me off. Probably moved to storage, one said, a voice echoing. But I knew that was bullshit. Someone wanted that file gone. I left empty-handed as the first pale light of dawn tinted the sky. My chest hurt, and my arm throbbed where I'd laser-etched the tin roof with shotgun recoil. My brain spun with questions I couldn't answer. Who sealed the journal entries away? Who locked the drawer? Who, or what, pulled the locket into the darkness beneath the pumps? At home, I paced my living room. The TV was on, playing muted weather radar. I stared at the screen, wishing for a storm to wash everything clean or expose some hidden detail behind the lens. My phone buzzed again. Sarge calling. I texted back, "Family crisis out of commission." He wrote back, "Get your ass back or you're done." I didn't respond. By midday, I felt a fever creeping in, chills and sweat in the same breath. My reflection in the window looked hollow-eyed, haunted. I grabbed the boot and journal photos, slipped them into evidence bags and stashed them under my bed. I couldn't trust the station to keep them safe. Night fell again, and I found myself driving back to Wilbarger County, Route 79 under endless black sky. The Sinclair Station's green dinosaur sign waited, blinking like an unblinking eye. I slowed to a crawl as I passed. Through the windshield I saw something move, parallel to my cruiser, just outside the light's edge. A small figure hunched, limping along the gravel. I slammed the brakes. The figure froze. My pulse spiked. I grabbed my binoculars. There, under the canopy's edge, a child-sized shadow crouched, head bowed. The hair shone silver in the neon glow. I tore open the door and stumbled out, shotgun raised. The shadow jerked upright, Marisol's outline unmistakable. She raised one arm, pointing behind me, and whispered, "Help!" I fired the floodlight switch. The station's yard lit up, and there she was, pale and still, but with eyes that glowed faintly blue. I blinked, and she was gone. No tracks in the dirt, no footprints, nothing but disturbed gravel. In her place lay Marisol's locket, shining on the ground as if brand new. I felt compelled to pick it up, but a voice thundered inside my skull. "Don't touch it." I obeyed. Instead, I backed toward my cruiser and drove off, heart pounding like a war drum. The station receded in my rear view, its pumps frozen mid-rock, the neon sign dark except for one solitary flicker. I don't know what I'm chasing anymore, the girl, or the madness that's dragging me down. But I can't stop. I'll be back tomorrow at midnight, shotgun ready, eyes peeled for a shimmer in the darkness. And if I find her, I'll finally end this. And maybe then I'll know whether salvation or something far worse lies beneath the surface. I cut through the dark highway at 70, tires humming on worn pavement. The radio was dead silent. No dispatch, no static, just the low growl of my V8. I kept one eye on the rear view, anticipating headlights that never came. Midnight in West Texas carries a weight. You can feel the land pressing in, see the Milky Way like spilled sugar overhead. I drove until the Sinclair Station's neon sign dipped on the horizon, then eased onto the gravel service road. I parked under the canopy, floodlights still out, and killed the engine. My breath came in shallow bursts. My boots crunched as I stepped out, shotgun slung at my side, senses taut. I half expected the pumps to rock on their own, but everything was still. Too still. I crossed to the back door and eased it open. It groaned, metal against frame, echoing through the empty station. Inside, the fluorescent bulbs flickered to life, buzzing like cicadas. The shelves were bare, the counter empty. The trap door, my gateway to hell, lay flush with the floor, seams almost invisible beneath dust. I knelt, fingertips tracing the edges. My hand closed around the ring on that hatch and I paused. 2 nights ago, I'd heard Marisol's voice from below. Last night, I'd almost seen her under the canopy. Now, standing here, I wondered which version was real, if any. I pulled the hatch open and peered into the yawning black. The stench hit me first. Stale air, damp earth, and something acrid like scorched metal. I climbed down. The ladder's rungs were slick. Water dripped from somewhere above, pooling at my boots. I could barely see beyond the circle of my flashlight. I listened. No whispers this time, only the drip. Drip, drip. I moved forward, chamber light scanning walls carved with symbols I'd long ago memorized. Arrows, circles, slashes. They glowed faintly under my beam like phosphorescent scars. I followed the tunnel deeper than before, past the limestone benches and the crate's remains, now just an imprint in the dirt. The passage ended at the barn-sized cavern with its shattered skylight. Moonlight filtered through cracks, painting fractured beams on the rocky floor. I stepped into the chamber. The iron chairs were gone, vanished without a trace. In their place, dozens of small footprints circled the shallow pool of water. Childlike, barefoot impressions, too many to count. My stomach clenched. I scanned the walls. More names scratched in iron. Sophia, Luis, Isabel, Diego. Fresh dates next to each. Nights spanning the past month. Mothers and fathers must have reported new missing children cases. I had no idea. My flashlight beam landed on the pool. The water's surface was still, reflective as mercury. It trembled slightly, sending ripples through the moonlight. I knelt and peered in. At first, I saw only my face, haggard, sweaty, haunted. Then the water darkened. I saw her. Marisol's pale face broke the surface, eyes wide with terror, mouth opening as if to cry out. The reflection split, revealing dozens of faces beneath hers, each smaller, twisted, some familiar from missing person posters. Their eyes were empty pits, their mouths stretched in silent screams. I stumbled back. A voice echoed, soft yet commanding. "Welcome home, deputy." It sounded like my own voice twisted. My legs froze. The water bubbled, and a hand, tiny, cold as marble, slid up the pool's edge toward me. I heard distant laughter, childish and hollow, echoing off the cavern walls. I aimed the shotgun at the reflection. My heart hammered. I squeezed the trigger. The report deafened me and the beam of my flashlight snapped off. I staggered back, hoping the cavern would collapse the moment my ears cleared, hoping the voices would vanish. Instead, darkness pressed in, and the laughter rose to a crescendo. I pounded on the tunnel wall, screaming for the hatch to open, but I knew nobody would come. Dispatch would hear nothing in this sealed world. The laughter stopped as suddenly as it began. Silence, suffocating. Then a whisper right at my ear. "Stay." I spun, shotgun raised, but there was no one, only the pool, its surface now still and empty of reflections. My flashlight flickered back on, showing bare rock and dust. The water had vanished. The footprints around the pool were gone, erased as if they never existed. With shaking hands, I turned to the tunnel and ran, adrenaline burning in my veins. The ladder loomed ahead. I scrambled up, burst through the hatch, and tumbled into the service room. I slammed the hatch shut and locked it. The station lights still hummed. I dropped to my knees, shaking. My radio crackled, dispatch calling my name. I barely answered, voice breaking. I told them nothing. Then I stood, shouldered my shotgun, and walked out into the pre-dawn chill. The neon dinosaur sign glowed feebly. I got into my cruiser, hands trembling. As I drove away, the sign blinked once, twice, and then went dark. I haven't slept since. The station has been demolished by order of county officials, supposed structural hazard. They say it was abandoned long before. The land is cordoned off, posted with no trespassing signs. I drive by only to confirm the bulldozers left rubble and empty space. No trace of a hatch, no tunnel, no cave. But at night, when the wind whistles through mesquite branches, I hear dripping water, faint laughter, and the whisper of dozens of children calling my name. And sometimes at the edge of my vision, I glimpse her. Marisol's pale face hovering just beyond the beam of my headlights, eyes pleading. I don't know whether I freed them or trapped myself down there forever. And every time I close my eyes, I see the pool's empty surface, the grin of that innocent face splitting into a scream that never ends. I can't escape it. Every morning, I wake with sand in my eyes and that cavern breathing beneath my skull. My wife left 2 weeks ago. Couldn't stand the midnight calls where I'd whisper into the dark, "I'm coming back, I promise." And she'd hear only my ragged voice through a locked door. Now I live alone in the trailer on the county edge. Lights off, windows boarded. I've turned off my radio, sold my cruiser, and stopped driving past that blasted station. Claimed it was too dangerous. But the danger leans on me every second, pressing behind my eyes. I spend my days in the archives of Pecos County, poring over every missing children file I can find. I photocopy faded mugshots and handwritten case notes, then cross-reference them against cemetery records, jail logs, school enrollment lists. Anything to trace footprints of names I saw carved in that underground amphitheater. Sophia, Luis, Isabel, Diego, I see them everywhere, in census data, in yearbooks, in obituary listings. It's as if someone is writing me a letter in blood, guiding me through a puzzle I can't solve. By night, I wander city streets, flashlight in hand, checking alleyways, storm drains, abandoned loading docks. Any place hidden beneath neon glow. I've turned yellow police tape into makeshift service lines, hammering stakes around vacant lots, digging through gravel with bare fingers. My palms are raw, my nails broken. Neighbors whisper about the crazy deputy who rattles tin roofs at midnight. I don't argue. I don't care. I need to find them. Last Tuesday, I got a call from a detective in Amarillo, someone who'd found a journal page wedged in an air duct of an old courthouse. The entry read, July 14th, 2025. They're waiting in the open. The circle is growing. He will join us. I felt it like a knife twisting. The date was yesterday. I packed my duffel bag at once. Journal photocopies, a bullhorn, flares, a coil of rope, spare ammo. I drove north in the dark, headlights cutting through dusty horizon, until I reached the abandoned radio tower overlooking the plains. The tower legions stand like spokes into the sky. The winds howl through the metal lattice as if singing in tribute. I set my gear at the base. I clipped a red flare to the ground and another on the tower's lowest rung. I pointed my flashlight beam at the rusted doors of the equipment shack. Inside was only shattered glass and tangled cables, except for one panel I'd pried open, a cache of old police CB units, each labeled with county names: Wilbarger, Pecos, Archer, Lamb? Every unit had the same channel dialed, the one where I heard Marisol's voice first, channel 27. The frequency was supposed to be dead. I grabbed one, clicked it on. A static, then faint, unmistakable. Deputy. The channel pulsated with voices layered atop each other. I recognized some as dispatch calls I'd recorded, my own voice pleading, and others as children, crying, whispering, begging. I pressed record on my phone. A sudden wind whipped the tower, shaking metal grate against padlock. The voices rose in a chorus. Stay with us. Stay with us. I leaned close, hardened my throat, and spoke into the mic. Marisol? Sophia? Luis? Where are you? The static shifted, and a single, clear response cut through. We're inside you now. The tower groaned, and the light from my flashlight flickered. I staggered back, bumping the plaque embedded in the ground. In memory of Sheriff Dale Erickson. Erickson, Minnesota sheriff who vanished decades ago. His name here, etched in steel as a tribute. I crouched and ran my hand over the plaque. It was warm, vibrating with a life of its own. Then I saw them. Dozens of pale shapes standing in the edge of my light, around the tower's legs. Half-formed silhouettes of children, hovering no more than a foot off the ground. Their eyes were vacant, their mouths open in silent screams. I saw Marisol at the front, hair gleaming, arm outstretched as if to lead. I dropped the CB unit and raised my shotgun, but the shapes drifted in, brushing against my coat, filling the air with their endless lament. Stay, stay with us. Stay forever. I backed away, heart pounding. The ground beneath the tower shifted like wet sand, and a fracture opened, revealing jagged rock and the same carved symbols I'd memorized. A blue light pulsed upward from the fissure, matching the hue I'd glimpsed underground. The children's shapes was drawn toward it, their voices merging into a hum that shook my bones. A voice, deeper than any child's, echoed from the chasm. He completes the circle. I scuttled away, tripped over my duffel bag, and fell. The flare beside me ignited in my gloved hand, burning bright. I scrambled to my feet and ran for my truck, hearing the metal grate of footsteps behind, their slow, deliberate approach. I didn't look back. I roared the engine to life and sped off down the dirt road, the flare's red glow disappearing in my mirror. Now I'm parked under the streetlight in a city that never sleeps. I've deleted the recording. Can't risk anyone playing it and unleashing that chorus. I've thrown away the flare's remnants, but I still carry that sheriff's CB unit in my coat pocket. When I press the button, I swear I hear, "Complete the circle." I don't know what they mean. I don't know how I join them. But I feel the fracture pulling at me, a living thing beneath my skin. Tonight, I'll drive back out. I'll find the fracture. And when I peer into that blue light, I'll decide, do I stay with them and never worry again? Or do I run until I become nothing but a whisper on a dead channel?